This is Drink Talk, where we try to solve the world's problems, one drink at a time. This week we'll be having Heaven Hill Distillery Bourbon and discussing a year of Drink Talk. We are your hosts, Brian and Britt.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah,
We're definitely your hosts.
Happy New Year about Britt.
Well, close to.
This will be released, after the New Year, but we are recording prior to the New Year and on a different time today. We decided to go a day early just because the New Year's Eve is on our normally scheduled night. So we thought, why not try a Saturday night? And it seems to be working out pretty good.
Right. Well, that and moments prior, I just got a, hey, could you work and possibly DJ on? And so it kind of worked out because New Year's Eve on a Sunday, really, I'm just so like, I'm kind of wondered, Thursday night, sure. Friday night, absolutely. Saturday night, of course.
And
but a Sunday night?
Our first podcast, though, was on New Year's Day, 2017.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But we didn't start releasing until like March, right?
Yeah, just because of the whole figuring out podcasting and iTunes and all that fun stuff. So,
yeah.
But
you got to figure things out,
We do. But before we get all into that, why don't you tell us a little bit about the drinks that you chose for this evening, Britt?
So I went into Hy-Vee on Cass Street, and I found this lovely...
The Penny Park Hy-Vee.
The Penny Park Hy-Vee.
Yes.
I was getting my tags renewed. Oh, yay.
On Friday?
Not on Friday.
I was going to say,
I
that was
believe
the
it was
last
on
day.
Thursday. No. It was
Still,
Tuesday or Wednesday or something.
It had been crazy this week.
Anyway, first thing I saw when I walked into Hy-Vee was like this little test tube thing.
And they're not like little test tubes. These are good sized test tubes.
These are 100 milliliter test tubes, and there's 5 of them. So we have 500 milliliters here. So it's just shy of a 750 that you would normally get.
Yeah, 2/3 of a 750.
But anyway, it caught my eye because technically Brian and I were going to do Bitcoin this episode.
Yes.
And then you were like, hey, let's do a year in review. And I'm like, that's way better.
Yeah.
But with that said, doesn't this look like something you'd buy from Bitcoin?
It's
You'd be like,
yeah. Why don't you hold that up to the camera a little bit so people can see?
It's super nice.
Yeah, it's very nice.
It's super nice.
Approximately how much was that, Britt?
It
gift set?
It was $50.
That's if you're talking about it's more expensive than
It's
probably buying one of the bottles.
Yeah,
but you get
for me to
sample
sample 5 of these bottles would cost me roughly $250.
Well, if you bought all the bottles individually, yes,
exactly.
Yeah.
So for $50, and
I like the it's got a little screw top lid on the test tube there. That's kind of cool.
Yeah,
so you can reseal it.
This is compliments of the place that I work of. They gave me a $50 gift card to Hy-Vee, so it was free.
Very nice.
So they're kind of sponsoring our show tonight, even though we can't say their name. And
yeah. Oh, you have 2 places that you work, so.
It's technically not who I work for; it's where I work.
Oh,
that got this far.
Gotcha. Thanks, Jake.
No.
Oh, the other one, the other place. Okay, all right. Thanks, other people.
Yeah. So I just figured we'd start with the first one and just go down the line.
Yeah. While you're doing that, while you're pouring the drinks, I'll talk a little bit about the Heaven Hill. Oh, we're doing the wheat whiskey.
Yeah, the very first one. It's the original.
Sure.
You can just read it, and this is kind of dating back to. When we did a Soldier Valley and you were talking about double golds, 2 out of the 5 of these, I believe, are double golds.
Well, and every one of these is an award winner,
right?
So this is all the alcohol we'll be having tonight is award winning. The first one that we're starting with is the wheat whiskey, and it is from their Bernheim plants. It is 90 proof, aged 7 years. It is a double gold winner, and they won that in 2014. And I believe the Bernheim one, there was something about that one. Yes. So that one, it's out of Kentucky. And this is the umbrella company of all of these is Heaven Hill Distillery. They hold lots and lots of different types of spirits. They are out of Bardstown, Kentucky, and they are the largest family-owned and operated distillery of spirits, largest family-owned and operated distilled spirits supplier. They are the 6th or 7th, depending on their website, because they had both, 6th or 7th largest spirit supplier in the United States as a whole, largest family-owned, but 6th or 7th largest in general in the United States. And they are the 2nd largest holder of aging bourbon in the world.
Huh.
So what's interesting about this, the Bernheim original wheat whiskey that we're going to be drinking, the Bernheim plant has the unique distinction of being the Kentucky Distilled Spirits Plant, or DSP, number 1 in Kentucky.
DSP 1. What is
number
DSP?
1? The distillery plant.
Oh, gotcha.
So
that makes more sense.
Or Distilled Spirits Plant, DSP.
Sure.
And if you think about having the distinction of number 1, where does bourbon come from? I mean, when you think of bourbon, you think of Kentucky straight bourbon. So having the distillery or distilled spirits plant number 1, that's kind of a big deal, being the first one out there, first one registered. So I guess I'll keep these over here so I can keep reading them.
Jeez.
Just. And a nice display, Britt.
I was trying to, right next to our family photo of just you and I, family photo. Cheers.
Cheers to that.
The Drink Talk family photo.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, yeah. Mm.
I'm interested in having this wheat. I don't know that I've had a wheat whiskey. So,
ooh, smooth. You know, usually when I have,
it's a mild flavor.
Whiskey straight up, usually you get this burning sensation running down your entire throat.
It's warming, but not burning.
It's warm, but it's not like, normally I get one of those.
And it's also, like I said, it's a very mild flavor. I guess the wheat whiskey, it doesn't have that bold flavor like a rye would, or like a bourbon with the corn. This is a pretty mellow, chill flavor. Yeah, I dig it.
That is super nice, actually.
It'd be a really good if you wanted to get into whiskey or bourbon.
Yeah, this would be a good starter.
This would be a really good starter one. And it's a little higher potency. It is 90 proof, so 45% alcohol, so a little bit more than the bare minimum. Bare minimum would be 80 proof. So,
how many pieces of flair do you have? The bare minimum.
I just only want to do the bare minimum. So, I was going to read a little bit more about
I kind of want to. The wheat.
I'll read the little description here.
Yeah, please do.
Bernheim is the first truly new style of American whiskey to be produced since the Prohibition. Though similar to a traditional wheated bourbon, the 51% wheat mash bill lends a distinctive smooth taste and mellow finish, which is kind of what we were talking about.
Smooth and mellow.
Yeah, not a high flavor profile.
No, it's not tough to drink. Mm-hmm. Again, like I said, when I usually drink a whiskey just straight up, I kind of a little cough at the end or a little, I can feel that. I can feel that burn.
No,
but I see why they won a double gold on this. It's very nice.
Yeah, very nice finish. It gets a little bit like it's real smooth up front. It gets a little harsher in the back, but not enough to say it's harsh. It's just it lets you know it's there, and then warms on the way down. I love it.
Well, with this said, we're having this, but we're also going to do a whiskey bourbon as well,
and a rye.
So yeah, we'll have the gamut of flavors.
Excellent.
Speaking of gamut of flavors, man, Brian, what is this? This is 43 episodes. Episode 43, but technically 50.
Yes, we did 50 episodes. And and I did 50 episodes.
We only missed Christmas Eve, and then you went on vacation.
Well, but for business, actually. I was in Boston.
You were on vacation. But yeah, you were out of town, but I still held one that evening with the boys next door, but we never produced it online.
Right, and you didn't
we just did the Facebook.
And you didn't have a talk, really. It was just more of a
you just drinking down in the basement.
Yeah, and talking about things. So you didn't have like a specific talk. So to say.
There was no agenda.
Yeah, just held a live event, but we ended up posting an old episode for that one.
So it kind of covered our bases.
We did. So let's review some of the ones that we did, our past programs.
So when you talk about reviewing these things, the first thing I did was I went to our very first episode, GMOs, and then I listened to
which I actually brought you the present of from Soldier Valley. So which is
full circle.
Yeah, right there.
That's right there.
Yeah,
we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
We kind of went full circle on that. That's great. synergy. But I went to the very first episode and listened to about 4 or 5 minutes of that or so, and then I went to
out of the hour and a half,
and then I went up to a higher.
Actually, we weren't doing hour and a half episodes then.
No, we only did like the first 2 episodes. I think one was like 38 minutes, and the other one was 54 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So we really just didn't start getting into that hour and a half marker until our like 5th or 6th episode.
So we decided we had a lot more to say.
Right. With that said, though, we did have 3 episodes. Time Off, which was 2 hours and 21 minutes. We had Preparedness, which was, again, 2 hours and 21 minutes. How did we do that? Jeez. I don't get that.
Well, I do kind of lead a preparedness lifestyle, so I have a lot to say about that. Kind of like when Mike's
I just
here.
don't know how we did 2 episodes the exact same 2 hours, 21 minutes.
True. That is true, yeah.
I'm like, wow, we really cut it off at the same time on both of those. And then weight loss programs, we did 2 hours and 9 minutes. So those 3 were our ones that we went up into the 2-hour marker.
But
and like, did anyone listen to those? I don't know.
Well, the Secrets of Surveillance, we actually did a 3-part episode. We split that into 3 separate episodes. The first one, it was actually 2 episodes, but that second episode we split into 2 parts.
Right.
So all told, that's probably our longest.
Yeah, we were trying to be sneaky and restarted it, but no, we just
kept on going.
We should have. We
did restart it, but I mean,
because
it was the same
episode
night.
3. Well, we had Mike with us.
Yeah, and he had a lot to say.
Which
on
we'll talk about.
Blew our mind on that one.
We'll talk about guests when we get to that point.
Yeah, no, I got the rundown on how many times each guest has been here.
We keep digressing, but I listened to first, and then I went to a later on episode. Like let's say episode 39 or something like that, and I'm just like, wow, we've really the audio
sound
quality.
Oh yeah,
the sound quality for sure.
Except for me clipping right there, but that's
all right. People don't hear that. It's just in our ears.
Okay, that's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we've gone through a lot of changes since those first early on episodes.
There is one change that I do think we need to make going into the new year, and that is setting a just a regular one that we run through instead of starting the program every single time with you going and everybody being silent. Have just one that we just tack on at the beginning of each one, but recorded properly, because I noticed the one that we have at the end kind of comes on full frontal and just punches you in the face like, hey, I'm loud as hell after the show.
I was just trying to wake you up after that hour and a half.
Which we can all, with that said, when we go to publish this one, maybe you take the ending down 2 notches or something, -2, whatever. But with that said, pre-recording beginning, pre-recording end, and then all we have to do is get into the program and just do it. That way we don't have. Yes, we want to introduce the people that are on the show, but that can all be done, while we're already in the show.
Oh yeah.
So I would love to just start the show instead of having to cue up music. You get your lines ready to know what you need to say, and then everybody's got to be quiet. No, let's just ready, set, go.
Yep.
Let's go.
Push play, and then let's get going.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, let's talk about some of those early on episodes, even before we released to iTunes and Google Play Music, and before we actually were part of the podcast fold.
Yeah,
GMOs was the first. That was our
GMO
first.
was the first, but I really never listened to the end of our episode Time Off, so I sat back and listened to that because I was wondering how drunk we actually got. And yeah, we did. We got a little tipsy, but hey, we were on vacation.
And we weren't going anywhere.
But one of the last things that we brought up before closing the 2 hour and 21 minute show down was you had happened to mention something to Dad about our very first run of how we started the show. And if you guys don't know, the way we started the show was Brian came over one day, and he's like, hey, I've got this idea about a show, about drinking, and we're like, cool, let's do it. And so he came over one night just to make sure that we could do this sort of thing, and Brian and I ended up recording for 3.5 hours. It was ridiculous. Like we told each other we need to stop like 5 times, but we just kept going and going and going. Well, I didn't have a paid version.
It's a trial version of the
program. I
had
a trial version of this, whatever program I use here, Vector 3 program. for our audio recording. And as soon as we were like, this is a show, let's do this, I went and bought Vector 3, and it erased that 3.5 hours. And it was like, oh, but Dad made a good point. He goes, that was for you and Brian. I'm like, yep.
That was a very good point.
Very good point. Because I don't know if we'd ever release that. Because, I mean, we did run the gamut of talking about family and jobs and things of that nature that probably we wouldn't want to put on air anyway. But it was just free flowing conversation. It was easy.
Yeah. Like we just kept it going. There were hardly any breaks other than, man, we've been talking for such a long time, and maybe we should shut this down. Remember this?
I don't even think we took bathroom breaks. I think we were just talking for 3.5 hours. Did I ever tell you like how that originally? This is like perfect. It's like 2, maybe 3 drinks.
It's like it's probably like a 2 ounce pour.
Yeah.
So
it's perfect.
Yeah, it's really, really good. Did I ever tell you how I ended up coming up with the idea for this? How it all originally started? I don't know if we ever
start.
I ended up coming across a YouTube video of Joe Rogan's podcast.
Yeah, I enjoy the majority of his shows.
Yeah, well, and some of his are 3 hours long. So I was like, our hour and a half is not running too long. But I watched a lot of that episode, and I was like, that is so cool that he's doing this. Like, I didn't have an idea of we should do this. That was just like, that's a really cool. I love the studio that he has.
I like the mics that he has that are $400 some plus a piece.
Yeah,
I like the comfy chairs that he has and a big desk format. And I mean,
he's got cameramen. He's got the works. We got a
ladies and gentlemen. We are in the works of hopefully getting some desks put in. I have this giant Brunswick table that has to get out of here, but eventually I'd like to move the studio over that way and be able to just sit in some nice. Computer chairs or something like that, something quiet.
Maybe that'll be in season 2. We'll see. But
and I'm thinking season 2, we might get on the road a little more and start visiting some of the breweries because there's so many breweries that want us.
I wanted to talk about season 2 at the end since that's
right.
You keep jumping into season 2.
Well, let's just go on to our next drink. Why don't we do that?
Yeah. Well, while you're doing that, I did want to talk about the what originally gave me the idea for this was I found a podcast called Surreal Talk. And
yes, I've listened to a few of their podcasts. You've turned me on to them.
Yeah, and it's 2 brothers talking about cults, conspiracies, and the paranormal. And I thought, that joined with the idea of a podcast to be a cool idea from watching the Joe Rogan podcast. To hey, these 2 brothers are doing it, and I thought it was a really cool idea.
We do it?
And I have a lot to say about stuff. So
right.
That's how I got the start.
Boom.
There you go. Thank you.
Yep.
And the rest, as they say, is history. So, I think, what's the next one here, Britt? I'll talk about that while you're pouring it. Is it the weeded bourbon?
We're literally just going to go like this and like that.
All right, so the weeded bourbon, also
this is kind of a cool little vial,
It is. I wonder what the rubber band is for on the bottom there, that black rubber band.
Well, the only thing I can think of is
to hold them in.
Hold them in the case a little bit.
That's probably what it is.
Yeah.
So this is also a double gold. They won that in 2014. Apparently, it's
a measurement device, Brian. So I just need to put it in the middle and go, just pour it there.
Smart. Again, they won the double gold in 2014 for the Larceny Kentucky Straight Bourbon. This is a 92 proof, so a little higher than the last one. And this one says, with a pedigree that traces back to the historic Old Fitzgerald brand, famously made with a whisper of wheat, Larceny uses wheat as the small grain instead of the traditional rye for a softer, rounder taste profile. Now, with bourbon, as we know, bourbon has to be 51% corn, so the taste of wheat, or the whisper of wheat, is going to be less than the whisper. Sorry, the whisper of wheat. So, to that, I didn't have much more on the Larceny. Yeah, that's all I had on the Larceny was just from
Grand Larceny.
Yes. To that, try some bourbon here after we did the whiskey.
Ooh, this was a little sharper.
Not as smooth.
Not as smooth.
Sweeter. But bourbon tends to be a little sweeter than whiskey.
Woo.
You get you must have got a hit on that. I
needed a little chaser for that one, but Good nonetheless. I still smooth in flavor.
I mean, any Kentucky bourbon is Kentucky straight bourbon is fine with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good call.
It's a little bit. It's a light amber color. The last one, the other wheat, the Kentucky, the original wheat whiskey was a little bit lighter in color than this. This is a little bit more richer caramel flavor, light caramel flavor.
My vote is for the first one. The second one's a little smacking in the mouth.
So what I'm getting is more like back of the throat flavor. Like up front, you don't get a lot, but in the back, I'm noticing more flavor where you taste the bourbon.
Well, yeah. I mean, I took my sip and then sat here for about 10 seconds, and then it was like, woo!
Well, and it is a little bit higher proof.
Yes.
Not really noticeable. I mean, we went from a 90 proof to a 92 proof, so not a whole lot, but still, it causes more warming than the other. And I guess I should have taken some water between the two to cleanse the palate.
Starting to notice this as we went from very light to a very dark, and the dark is going to be the
rye.
Yeah, it's the rye, and it's like 116 proof or something like that.
I don't think it's that much, is it?
110.
You were right. Holy cow!
I was going to say.
Yeah. All right. So
I did my mouth.
Woo!
I did my mouth.
We might need to let that one sit and let the ice cube melt into that one a little bit more.
Speaking of add numbers and stuff, we had a gamut of guest hosts.
We did.
Which I would love to talk about.
Yeah, I actually got the numbers of how many times each guest host was here.
Mike was here 12 times, correct?
11. I had
12. I've got 12.
Okay.
I just went
Agree
through.
To disagree. No,
I went through iTunes and I just clicked on the information.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, Mike 1, and I just did a tally marker, and we had him a total of 12 out of 50 episodes.
I must have missed one. So you know who our second highest was?
Erica.
Yeah, I had 7 with her.
7.
Woo, we agreed on that one.
Matches.
Yeah, and then Erica's husband, Eric.
Yep, 4 times.
4 times. Yep, and then Grant
3 times.
And then Rich
twice.
And Sean
twice.
And Andrew
once.
Elzuri
once.
And Dad.
And Dad. Oh, yeah. I didn't even write Dad down. Sorry, Dad.
I got you. Yeah, I got your back.
Exactly. Yeah. So what do we got? What is that? 7. Let's see here. 4, 8, 9. 9 guests?
Yeah, 9 guests.
9 guests throughout 1 year. That's pretty decent, you know?
Yeah. For
a little less than 1 month.
I didn't tally like how many episodes we had guests versus how many we didn't.
Oh, you know what? You know where I got the 12th for Mike was? Episode 1 and 2 of.
That's probably what it is.
Yeah.
Secrets of Surveillance.
Secrets of Surveillance. Yeah. I counted him as a double since it's 2 different episodes.
That's probably where our numbers are off.
Boom.
Yep. Because he was here the same night.
Exactly.
Yeah, we just rolled through.
So yeah, you're right. He was here 11.
Yep.
Correct.
Well, before we get into some of our favorites, let's talk about some of the talks that we did.
Yeah.
So some of the early on episodes, Britt mentioned the first one was GMOs. Second one, AI.
Artificial intelligence.
That was a good one.
Well, it was a good one, but here's the thing. The episode was only like 53 minutes long.
you did, man. You tallied them. I got the dates down. I didn't tally the number.
Well, I'm guessing on this one, but I remember the first one being like 38, and the next one being like 53.
We got into our role a little bit.
Yeah. So the first one, getting off the floor was tough, but
this is a little. You were right. This is a little richer flavor. Sorry to interrupt, but yeah, this is the after doing it a couple times, it's a little richer flavor.
Just gonna get richer.
Yeah, I dig it. All right.
But artificial intelligence, I thought we would have spent a little more time on. We were still brand new. It was our second episode. We were still trying to iron things out.
We can always revisit it because we're seeing more and more of it.
Correct.
Funny story on that one. So I do have a funny story about AI. The actual episode.
Am I gonna LOL? Like laugh out loud?
Laugh out loud. I LOL'd out loud. So
I wonder if artificial intelligence, when we get to that point of robots, they go LOL instead of actually laughing.
So the funny story on the AI, I was as I've talked about on the program before, I'm a home brewer, and I was brewing with my friend Corey.
Oh, you are?
Yeah,
you haven't had any on the show here.
You're right, we haven't.
Season 2.
I've been a little busy with the podcast.
Understandably.
So I have brewed 2 batches since we.
You have.
So
I agree.
I've slowed down.
We just need to get some on the show.
We do. You're right. So anyway, I was brewing a batch with him, and he said, "Hey, how's the podcast going?" Two episodes in. No, actually, we were a few in at that point.
It's okay, I guess.
We were a few in. We hadn't released,
nobody watching us yet,
but we hadn't released to iTunes yet, so we couldn't download anything. But I had everything on my phone.
We do have Jamie watching us.
Oh, hey,
what's up, Jamie?
There's a
James.
All right. So anyway, he asked if we could listen to one of the programs while we were brewing some of the beer, and I said, yeah, absolutely. It's on my phone, and it'd be hard because we're brewing beer and we got a lot of stuff going on. It'd be hard to listen to it on my phone. So I asked him if he had a Bluetooth speaker. He said, no, I don't really have a Bluetooth speaker, but I do have a laptop and we could play it through that. And I said, well, it's on my phone. And I look over and he's got Alexa, an Echo.
Oh, perfect.
And I was like, dude,
bounce.
that's a Bluetooth. That's a Bluetooth right there. And he said, oh, you can do that? I said, yeah, all I have to do is connect my phone to it and done.
Bada bing, bada boom.
So we did, and we were listening to the episode. He wanted to listen to AI because he's a tech guy.
Sure.
He's in the IT field.
And why wasn't he on the show?
Well, we were just early on. I don't think we had any guests at that point.
Enough.
So anyway, as we're going through it, we're talking about different artificial intelligences, and some of the AIs that we talked about were Alexa and Siri and Cortana and all that. Every time we said Alexa, it would shut down because it heard its name and it was listening for us to talk about it.
Same thing happened to our time off episode. Remember Siri?
Yes, yeah. Oh,
Every time we tried to start the episode.
Yeah, for some reason it thought I was saying Siri. Yeah. And now this episode, people are going to be freaking out like, guys, stop
saying that. Stop saying those words.
So
screwed up my house here.
But I just thought that was kind of funny that
lights just keep going on and off.
Yep. After
Siri, lights off. I hope that works.
Alexa, play death metal.
Awesome. Awesome.
So then we did HARP. That was one of yours that you wanted to talk about.
Which
high altitude auroral research program,
which had been sold and now is under the control of Alaska University.
Yeah.
So it would be.
If you haven't noticed a theme to the podcast over the last year, so we do some talks about current events, and sometimes we dip into some of the more theories as Britt talks about. Yes. So HARP was one of those. It's not a theory. HARP was an actual thing, but what it was doing,
we didn't really talk about it.
Yeah, so that was part of the theory part of it. So
I'd like to go visit it. You know,
up in Alaska there?
Yeah, I'd just like to go visit Alaska. Let's just say that.
Yes, absolutely.
Put a snowboard on my backpack and go, hike the state.
I do want to get all the girls to all 50 states. That's kind of our goal, is to get them.
When you decide to go to Alaska,
you let me know. I think it would be fun to actually road trip up there on a Can-Am Spider.
So Paul,
that's a long road trip.
My boss, he took a trip to Alaska. And I was like, dude, you're going up there to snowboard and stuff? Because he came from Colorado. Mm-hmm. He's like, not really. I'm like, bull crap. He's like, I might try to get something.
Throwing the yellow flag on that play.
Bull crap. Yep. He's like, no, I just want to get up there and check it out. I was like, cool, Be an ice road trucker.
It's it's kind of for us in the continental United States, it's kind of the undiscovered country up there.
Yeah.
So, I really want to get up there. But you have to spend some time up there because I don't think people realize how large of a state Alaska actually is.
It's enormous. It's as big as Texas, isn't it? Or at least close to.
Pretty, because it's got so many. The coastline is so jagged and weird. Yeah. It's hard to say total landmass. I'm sure that if only we had a device connected to the wealth of human knowledge.
The other thing is, I don't like doing research while we're talking.
That's true.
They're like click, click, click.
Yeah.
Hang on.
Pause.
Are you gonna answer that for me? Come on, quicker.
We need to run through these a little quicker if we're gonna get through all of
these. Brian, there's no time limit. Exactly, and we've got 3 more here plus another one over there.
So after HARP, we actually had our first transhumanism. We had our first guest. That was Mike. Mike was our first guest,
and it was our first dual episode. So we had there was two episodes,
part 1 and part 2.
Yeah.
Yep, we did actually the same night too. We just kind of split that. That's where it was. Mine was Secret Service Surveillance. I split, but I did not split it for transhumanism. Did you count them twice for that one?
I did.
Yeah, I counted them once. So there you go.
It is.
That's what it was. That was a good episode. It
was actually. I ran through. Which after this list that we'll run through, I actually kind of have the order of most listened to via I'm only getting this information off of iTunes because they've got the little Richter scale thing there.
Well, and see, I've got mine actually from the analytics from our media hosting site.
Oh, well, so, and that's pulling from two different places: Google Play Music and
that's everything
iTunes.
Across the board. Yep. So, no, for me that was
now that just reminds me our episode last week for
Disney.
I need to upload that to YouTube.
Oh, yeah. All right. So the transhumanism for me, I love that one because we got to theorize on where we were heading, kind of thing, and I thought that was a really cool.
Well, we kind of went. It could go this way, or it could go that way.
Yeah,
it really made you things that make you go,
That was probably one of my. I put it in my top 5 episodes. Was transhumanism. Then. Top 5. Speaking of top 5, episode 5. Do you remember episode 5, Britt? You probably don't because that was after the Super Bowl, and you may have.
Sorry, I'm reading a comment here from James. He said Alanis Morissette album "Jagged Little Pill" was based off the coastline of Alaska.
Dude, that was my 90s.
Yeah,
Jagged Little Pill.
Nice.
Yeah, that I was big into. Alanis Morissette, and what were some of the other ones that I was into? There's a
whatever.
There's a
whoop. There it is.
No,
I'm just kidding.
I mean, yeah, we could get into Onyx.
Blessed Union of Souls.
Oh yeah, that was good.
That was a good one. Yeah. Crash Test Dummies. Yep.
Anyway, episode 5. You remember? Do you remember episode 5, Britt? Again, you probably don't because it was after the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, that's right. We
our lost
episode
that we ended up redoing.
Yeah. I might have had a few cocktails and a lot of people over at my house, and then we were like, oh yeah, it'd be fine to record and do one. No, it
was rough. Well, and that's why Britt now has a sign right by his computer that says, "Why you no save?"
Done recording.
I drew him a
save. Why you no save?
Why you no save?
I love the little.
So yeah, I drew him a little picture there. Why you no save?
Might as well pull it off.
Oh yeah. Show him a little of my artwork, my stick figure artwork.
Why you no save?
Why you no save? Oh man, yeah. After that was I know I heard you talking about the asteroid. That was the WF9 2016, the asteroid that was supposed to get pretty darn close, and it did.
Yeah, you know what? Never hit it. So
well, I mean,
good.
Astrologically, it got pretty close.
Well, there was predictions. There was a lot of guesswork going on that this could be the one.
NASA doesn't do guesswork.
The guy that said this is going to be the one, and it actually hit us. Well, hey, he was the one that went down in history for knowing that one was going to hit us.
Yeah. Good job. Way to hit that one on the head. Awesome.
There's nothing. There's no more anymore.
Yeah.
So
that one was kind of that wasn't one of my favorite ones. That was okay. It was okay.
But there was that one, and then there was another one which we'll talk about here soon.
Next one was globalism. We had Eric on
that was a really good one, actually.
Yeah, we talked about the kind of the state of things, the way things are going on, and how we are becoming more of a global society and the problems with it. And Eric, as a military-minded person, since he's in the Army, kind of talked about how that would look in the Middle East. It'd be tough because they're a very anti-Western society. So to become a global society, everybody kind of needs to get along.
Right. With being a global society, would it be? I guess this would be a question on that episode that we should have had. Would it be easier to travel?
So that's what I got into a little bit on globalism was if we were going to do interstellar travel, probably going to have to be a global society.
Right. So it'd just be easier.
Yeah.
Here's my global passport. I'm okay to drive. Whatever.
Well, not necessarily that. I just think coming together as a human race in order to further the human race.
We're all on the same playing field.
Right.
I get it. Don't do that. Don't do that. You're okay to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So then we started getting into some mind-blowing stuff. That was the Secrets of Surveillance episode, the
1, 2,
three-parter.
and 3. I think that was the only one that we had as a 3-parter.
Yeah, it was.
And technically, it should have only been a 2-parter because Mike was here
but it ran
for
over
2
on
and
that too. Yeah.
But yeah, we were getting into the hour-and-a-half marker, and we're like, all right, let's go.
Episode 1 was kind of like the appetizer.
I think we cut it, and then it was like,
let's just keep going. Yeah.
It's like, Mike, do you want to come back again? He's like, well, I do want to come back again. Just I don't want to come back next week. So he's like, well, just do another episode. Why not? Yeah. And I listened to the end of the part 3, and I like how I ended it. He goes, or I said to myself, and you guys, that I was like, I got a new take on gin.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah, I still talk about some of the things that he talked about on the part 2 and 3.
Oh yeah,
because it's
well,
just
he took me to.
stuff.
I remember him telling me he's like, punch this website in here,
Mm-hmm.
check this out, and it led me to this little thumb drive, and you can just plug it into a computer and you press the button, and it just takes all the information. It's a 250 gig hard drive, and yes, I'm sure it's kind of expensive, might be $1,000 memory stick.
250 gig. Well, I mean, if you have a,
but it has the capability of cracking into your system and stealing all your data
for less than $100,
and all you got to do is hit this go button.
Yeah.
What the most disturbing thing was there was a 1-800 number that you could call if it wasn't working properly for you. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to get off this webpage. Somebody's watching me right now.
Do you remember when we were talking about the keystrokes? So, like, if you have your cell phone on your desk, there's an algorithm to where, because
it can hear you type.
The microphone is so sensitive on modern day cell phones that if you have it on the desk and you are typing, it uses an algorithm depending on if it knows where it is on the desk, left or right of the keyboard, it can use an algorithm to distinguish what you're talking about or what you're actually typing into the computer, which is insane.
Mind-boggling.
And that's stuff that's happening right now. That's crazy stuff.
Right.
So, and also
Well, I mean, on that episode, I also talked, I believe I got into, back when I had my first, remember the old first Droid phone?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It was
the audio files that you were talking about?
Yeah, I had some audio files on there, and I click on one, and it's like me and Ryan, and he's talking to me, and I'm like, yeah, I remember having this conversation, but I never hit record.
Mm-hmm.
Why is this being recorded on my phone?
Well, we just talked about AI and that Amazon product, and who knows how. I mean, it's listening all the time until you hit the microphone off, which really turns it off, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's just ones and zeros, Brian.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So then the next episode was one of my favorite episodes because
Beer Me,
because we ended up not having any
Andrew,
topic.
We need to have another Beer Me episode.
We keep talking about having him on, and we need to actually actually have him on.
Wife needs to let him out of the house. Well, no, that's not the case. I actually wanted to get him on the episode or back on sooner than later. He has crafted his 2 last brews that he's kegged.
Mm-hmm.
Have been amazing.
We should just
beers. Amazing beers.
We're gonna have to we'll do a homebrew
with
episode.
With that said, Christmas when we were over at the folks' house, you and I told you, I was like, I totally forgot to stop by Andrew's house to pick up 64 ounces of his beer to bring it over. And then I was like, if we get a moment, Brian, let's dip out and we'll go grab that. And then we just never got the moment. And that was fine because we had plenty of beer to drink. And
we had my amaretto too.
We had your amaretto. And that was good.
So
you had to leave a little early. So
you talked about we didn't have my homebrew on, but we have had my amaretto on.
We have had your amaretto and we have had your simple syrup.
Oh,
we've had both.
That's not hard to make.
It's not hard to make, but hey, it's something you made.
It's true. And I, to the listening audience now, we will make fun of you if you buy simple syrup. Mike, we're gonna make fun of Mike right now because he's bought simple syrup.
Oh well,
Yeah, I mean, to each his own. I mean, it's if you don't have the time, if you don't have that 15 minutes to boil water, I mean. So then after that we did episode, and this was one of the more unique. I try and keep the names very simple on the podcast. If you read the name, I want you to know what we're talking about. This next one, episode 10, Gattaca. Remember that one?
Yeah, great movie, great episode.
Yeah. So, but that was my first little foray into naming it a little something a little off, but the movie tied into what we were talking about. And we're going to pause right here after these messages. We'll get back into Talk for Gattaca. What are we drinking next here, Britt?
Brian, I was just reading the warning on here. According to the Surgeon General, women should not drink this alcoholic beverage if you are trying to get pregnant or during pregnancy because of the risk of... No, I'm just kidding. I'm just... I've never seen that label before.
We all know that label. All right, we're doing another bourbon this time.
Yes, and Evan Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's seen Evan Williams sitting out on the shelf. It's not the most expensive. It's fairly decently priced. It's not too bad. Speaking of Evan Williams, it's probably going to be your well or even one up from your well that you would get at a bar.
Yeah, well, and it's still award-winning.
But this one here is not going to be your well at a bar. But the Evan Williams regular whiskey.
This is an aged one, and this is they got the 5 great bourbons back in 2014. This is an 86.6 proof, so a little less than what we've been drinking. Aged 7 to 8 years, and here is what it says on the Evan Williams. As the only vintage-dated single-barrel bourbon, the individual barrels that are hand-selected for Evan Williams single barrel meet the stringent flavor profile of each year's unique vintage. So basically, they're
unique
New
New York.
They're very particular in the flavor profile when it comes to their barrel choosing. So that's what they're saying on that one.
Perfect.
And to that one, this is actual. Is this a bourbon or whiskey?
I don't know. You've got the bucks.
Barrel bourbon. Well, it says it's 5 great bourbon, so I'm going to go with it's a bourbon.
Bourbon whiskey.
Clinky. Smells sweet.
Ooh.
It looks lighter in the glass, but it looked darker in the vial.
Yeah.
So,
a lot smoother than the last one for sure. A lot smoother.
Oh, I'm going to go with you on that one.
Yeah.
It's
It's not as smooth as the first one.
a little sweeter.
A little sweeter for sure.
But yeah, way smoother. The other one wasn't. I wouldn't say it was a punch.
No,
but it was not as smooth as the wheat, and definitely not as smooth as this bourbon. So, that.
I'm really digging this sampler pack.
Yeah, it's really.
So far, we've had 3. All 3 have been great.
Mm-hmm.
But just between you and me, I think if we were to have a third person here, it just wouldn't be enough. You know what I mean? The pours.
Oh, true. Yeah.
If we had a third person, it was just you'd be like, "Oh, sip. Okay,
yeah,
well that's it.
We'd
On to the next one."
1 ounce pours, which are like a really small
and we'd all
shot.
take a sip and it'd be like, "Okay, well now we got to go talk on to the next one." This allows us a little time to talk and has like 2 drinks in there, which is great.
Yes.
So if you and a buddy are just sitting around the table, go ahead and pick up one of these babies.
It is good for 2 people. You could stretch it to 3. Definitely not 4.
You could stretch it to 3. Yes, I agree.
Too much for 1. Perfect for 2.
Not enough for 4.
Stretch it for 3. Not enough for 4. 5 is right out.
Oh, what was that?
Monty Python.
Yeah, they had the bomb. I'm like, they had the bomb.
Yeah. Thou shalt count to 3. Anyway,
4 is right out.
5 is right out. Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
Yes. But it's just a little bunny. It's got huge. Yeah. Huge bunty fangs. And Britt has the actual. Yes.
It's got huge fangs.
We do like our pop culture references.
Oh, yeah.
So back to Gattaca, speaking of pop culture references, that was a movie that came out in the 90s about, it was the future, and we had done some space exploration, but they were also into marking our genes. And at birth, they took a sample of your genes and they said, here's all the chances for cancer. These are, the health problems this whole person have. Or this one's going to excel in athletics. And they had that all down. They had the whole genome sequence, and they could say what the likelihood of what this person was going to become. And they had a whole company that you pretty much had to have perfect DNA to work at this company. And it was Ethan Hawke and Jude Law and Uma Thurman.
Oh, it was a great movie.
Yeah, it was a good movie.
Great movie.
So this was on. So we talked about a bill that was talking about taking your allowing insurance companies to access your DNA. And that got into. Well, at birth, they could say, well, the likelihood of, because you have parents that have both had this issue, the likelihood of you having it is this high, so your insurance rate is going to be this.
Yeah.
And so but
if you go into our healthcare program, into our wellness program,
or they could
that's what they called it, the wellness program.
Or they could just charge you more.
Exactly.
Even if the likelihood was 50%. And you never got it, they could still charge you for it, which gets to be a whole nother issue. That was a good episode, but I think it was one of our lesser downloaded episodes because I named it differently. I should have named it something else.
So,
because I don't know how many people have actually watched it.
With that said, we've just got to. I'm surprised we didn't talk about healthcare, since everybody's having to renew their healthcare this December and all that stuff. That would have been a good talk to get into, because I was looking at healthcare just for my son. I wasn't sure if I was going to do it through the place that I work, which would have, quadrupled the amount that I paid just for myself, or if, Carly's getting a plan, we tack her on to him, or if we could do just a separate plan for him and all that stuff. We even looked at the budgeting option of just, hey, how about the state pays for it and send him through that. You know what they call that? CHIP.
Really?
Yeah, they call it CHIP.
Interesting. Not the California Highway Patrol.
No, CHIP.
Sorry, that was a
CHIP.
That was a reference to
chips, not chips. CHIP. And I just thought it was funny because I'm just like, so if I get him into this program CHIP, which I don't know what it stands for, but it's like Child Healthcare something.
Indoctrination program.
Something like that. A child healthcare insurance program.
Oh,
CHIP.
I was going to go with indoctrination program.
But I'm just like, are you going to chip my child? Just by going into the.
So
it could have been in the fine print.
There's a huge precedence for pets, and people are already starting to do their own children.
With pets, that makes sense. The dog runs away. You go, oh, he's on 10th and 12th Avenue.
But that's why we're doing children too, in case of child abduction. So we can. That's a whole. Or it's coming. The RFID chips that you're implanted in there and have your whole medical history on there. I mean, it's coming.
Okay. With that said, Kaitlin just got a new watch, and the watch tells the parents where she's at. They can call her.
Is it really?
It's got
no
GPS.
Wonder it's so big. Jeez,
it's got GPS tracking on it. It's got its own. She can make phone calls. It's literally a Dick Tracy watch.
Huh.
She can make phone calls. She can. I don't know if she can do text message. I think she can do voice. The voice text. You know how you record.
I thought it was funny that Erica was getting so mad at her for playing. I'm like, you just gave it to her for Christmas. It's a new toy. Of course she's going to play with it. She's a child. Come on.
But I mean, with that said, it's like a chip. I mean, it's just above the skin, not
just
below
not
it.
implanted. Yeah. But if she carries it with her,
alternative energy.
Those were good. I like that one because it was actually something that is.
Well, it made me want to go out and buy like a windmill or what's the thing I put in the stream and it does the water. Hydroelectric. Yeah, I was like, and I was all for what was that balloon that went up into the sky and it was its own little generator. It was like a little cloud that I talked about. And it created its own Wi-Fi.
Did you ever see the movie Big Hero 6?
Yeah.
Do you remember? San Francisco was the name of the town. It was like San Francisco and Tokyo, but above.
Is that how they did that? No,
that is. Every skyscraper had this
balloon.
Kind of like a Zephyr above it, but it was a wind turbine above it to create energy.
This is how they got their idea, and they
maybe. But that was a 2-part episode. Alternative energy.
Remind me, after the show,
set a note.
Yeah, I've got an idea for an invention.
All right, I have many of those. Actually, that's one of the things. I actually had some inventions, and I wrote myself a letter, and I
mailed it to yourself.
I sent it to myself, so it was post-dated, and then I never opened it. So I have that on there.
Neato.
Yeah, just FYI, those that can't afford to take out a patent, write a letter to yourself because
so it's post-dated.
Yep, there you go.
Unless you work at the post office, then you can't do that.
Yeah, you're gonna have to talk for a minute because I'm making notes here.
Yeah, not a problem. So going on from that, which I thought was weird, we did driving pet peeves part 1, but the next one was called road rage, so it wasn't like part 2. So it was like part 1, but there was never a part 2 to.
Well, it was.
Driving pet peeves.
It was a part 2, but not. Yeah, I didn't name it that.
You worded it wrong.
Not wrong. We were early on. These are the first 10 20 episodes. 10, I mean, seriously. So,
but I really enjoyed that driving pet peeves. And that Eric came on that show, and as much as I hated talking about it because it kind of makes you cringe when you drive and there's just people that get in your way and then they honk and you're like, what are you even honking at?
Well, did I ever tell you how I came up with the idea for that episode?
You almost got into a car accident?
No, it was actually the hairstylist that I had out at Scissors and Scotch.
Oh, nice.
And she had found or I was talking to her about doing a podcast. She's like, oh, you should totally do this talk. And I'm like, That's brilliant. You know, everybody
can relate.
Everybody that drives has some driving pet peeves, if not road rage. So yeah, it was genius. So much props. So yes. I'm not going to name her. Just
kudos.
Yeah,
you know who you are.
You know who you are. Much props. High five.
So going on from driving pet peeves and road rage, you know what?
And then we got into the theory portion of the program. After that, we do it like every 5 or 10. We try and do a theory episode.
Oh yeah. We did
contrails versus chemtrails.
Right. But that's not a theory, Brian. That's the real deal.
I know.
So we just had a giant snowstorm here in Omaha about a week ago, and it's been around for a week now. And
because it's so cold.
It's so cold.
The high tomorrow is in the negatives.
Yes.
That's
not even the coldest day. Monday is going to be the coldest day.
Well, it's cold today. Like the high today was 3.
Yeah, it's cold.
It's cold.
But you should have seen how much they were spraying.
Have you seen? Speaking of,
in fact, you came in a church and I told you, Brian. I was like, "Look at the sky," and you're like, "Oh yeah,
yeah." So, speaking of cold, have you seen like a global map of temperatures and all that? Like
no.
for some reason, the United States is experiencing like unusually cold temperatures where everybody else is getting high.
2 days ago, it was maybe 2 days ago. It was 20 some odd degrees. So I was thinking the next day was going to be warmer.
That was a heat wave.
Because it was 55 in Denver. It was 55 in Denver, and it was like 20 something here. Mm-hmm. And then the next day it was 14 here, and Denver, of course, got colder. But I'm like, where did that 55 degrees come from?
Damn you, El Nino.
Right? The La Nina.
La Nina and El Nino? Yes. Yeah. And I'm not even going to, no.
What does El Nino stand for?
The
Nino.
I'm not even going to get into the tweet by our president.
You saw that?
Of course I saw that.
Perfect.
All right, we're moving on that one.
Mixed drink edition.
Yes, so the next one, we started a new, after the Beer Me episode, we thought it'd be cool to do like these little mini episodes where we didn't actually have a topic.
It was kind of off the reference of Beer Talk or Beer Me. We were like, well, that was cool. We did this Beer Me episode, and it's been crazy downloaded for a long time.
It was one of the most downloaded programs we had. And we
for
didn't
a long time.
And we didn't even have a topic. It was just us talking about beer.
Well, and
which we are called Drink Talk, so.
We did a lot of, I think on that one, we did a lot of tagging. Mm-hmm. And so we got a lot of breweries that we tagged. And so people might have been jumping on and going, type in the brewery, and then we come up somehow.
We did sample quite a few that night.
We sampled 7. I think.
And I think Andrew might have had 7 before that. So
maybe.
I drove him home, folks, just FYI.
Yes. That's because his wife left him here. They were over earlier.
That's right.
That's right. I'd say we'd had about 4, maybe 5 before you came, and then we had I think 7 on the show.
Yeah. It was fun. It was fun.
Dude, it was so much fun. And like you said, it was one of the most downloaded episodes. And if you just listen, it's just a bunch of dudes hanging out in the basement talking about beer. And it was neat to get the with us being Nebraska boys, he's from Michigan. And so
Michigan has some good beers.
North. He's north,
Well, he's more east than north, but yes.
Sure. Still up. More up than we are.
It's similar longitude.
Yes. Agree to disagree.
Do you remember the latitude versus longitude? How you remember that?
Long.
Yeah. The Earth is wider, so longitude.
They say that the Earth is pear-shaped, though.
I think it bulges at the center of the equator.
He's got to lose some weight.
Yeah, which is weird.
She's got to lose some weight.
If you think about, I'm not going to get into the flat Earth thing, but
it starts spinning.
Well, we're spinning, and we have the moon, which has a gravitational pull, and that should be pulling. So there should be a bubble there where the moon is pulling.
Should be,
and it's rotating. So it should be wider wherever the moon is pulling.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're not scientists on this show.
Yes. Fair warning, we are not scientists.
Exactly.
Yep.
Moving on to no, we had a part 1 and a part 2, so I'm not going to rehash that.
That's
so
fine.
we had a 2-parter of a few of our favorite things is what we started calling it.
But
that was the mixed drink edition, and then we had another one on the rocks edition.
Yes, on the rocks. Yeah, and I think that's going to continue on to season 2. We're going to do some just fun ones, no topic, just a few of our favorite things, whatever. Wine. We do need to do more wine. Season 2.
I agree. We've only done Dad did one on our show Time Off,
He did.
but we did one, and that was really sangria.
Sangria.
It was wine, yes, but it was sangria.
It was a mixed drink.
It was a Plaze wine, which
Plaze.
well, in fact, I got it right here.
Yeah, it was actually really good.
Frontier Red.
Which, looking back on that, I thought it was genius that we did sangria, which to me is like Spain, like warmth and all that. And we did it on the Antarctica talk.
Why not?
Yeah,
why not?
The yin and the yang, right? So then, episode 15. That was one of the harder episodes that we've ever done.
Factory farms.
It was so
Factory farms.
It was so hard to get
chickens
through that.
and cows and plants and factories.
God, I like that episode from the fact that we got that information out there, but it was so tough to talk about.
The whole time, not the whole time, part of the time of that episode, my mind was with, now I can't think of the name of the movie.
Was it the one with
Dynamite?
Oh, yeah. I do it
where he works on the chicken farm, and there's just chickens everywhere, and he's shoving chickens in there, and then they like give him lunch, and it's just eggs, like hard-boiled eggs, and then cracked eggs. Yeah. They're like, oh, there you go, there's lunch.
Was that Napoleon? I don't even remember that Napoleon Dynamite.
Napoleon Dynamite.
Well, I remember Napoleon Dynamite. I don't remember
he
that.
worked on a chicken farm.
Really? I thought
Factory farm.
Didn't he have llamas or something like that?
He had a llama. Come get your chicken.
Llama, red pajama.
What is it? I can't.
You can tell I'm a dad.
Bessie? I don't know. I can't remember the name of the llama he had, but he takes a casserole and he just throws it over the fence. It's like, come get your dinner.
Yeah. Mom said to move out of our house and stop eating all our steak. Ruining our lives.
Oh my gosh.
Vote for Pedro.
Let me get some of your tots. No, man, get your own.
I caught you a delicious
Then he
pass.
kicks his pocket.
Yeah.
I was writing. Okay, so I was at work and we got this new guy that's been with us. I've known this guy Mike for
we're an hour in and we haven't even gone through half of our.
I know, and that's fine. And that's the whole point of this episode. It's great,
right?
It's our last episode for the year. We can go 3 hours if we wanted to.
Just FYI, buckle up, folks. We're gonna keep going.
Anyway, so Mike and I are riding in the elevator down to the car, and he's got this big trench coat on and everything. All of a sudden, he reaches in the trench coat and he's all like,
like. What are you sneaking in?
You got there? You got some chips?
Did you share with the class?
I'm like, hey, Mike, let me get a chip. He goes, get your own damn chips. I'm like, oh, Napoleon Dynamite, I dig it.
Nice.
It was good times.
After factory farming, we did fake news.
Part 1 and 2.
Yeah, Rich.
Rich. Oh, Rich, we want you back on the show. I've seriously asked Rich, like, maybe 10 times, maybe 6 times, 6 to 10 times. I'm like, Rich, come on the show. And he's all like, I don't know, man.
It's a late time.
And then finally,
frame.
it's a late time for him. I get it. And then, a couple weeks ago, actually, him and his wife were possibly going to come on the Disney show with us.
Yeah.
But it just panned out. She wasn't feeling well, and she couldn't make it. And that's understandable. I get that. But Rich, we would love to have you back on the show because you are, again, working in the news industry. Mm-hmm. Hence why we had you on Fake News. That's the whole reason that brought you to the show was because we did Fake News. You firsthand have the knowledge and wisdom of current events. Mm-hmm. And you're just fun to talk to.
That reminds me of a quote. We actually just talked about that at lunch today. We were talking about knowledge versus wisdom. And one of my favorite quotes on knowledge versus wisdom is, knowledge is knowing that a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is not putting it in fruit salad.
Ooh. I like that.
Isn't that awesome?
That's so smart.
That's my favorite knowledge versus wisdom quote.
What about calling it a tomato or a tomato?
Potato, potato, tomato, tomato.
Right.
Fruit. Fruits.
And then we get into the topic of war.
Well, we did that.
What is it good for?
Absolutely nothing. We got into that on Memorial Day weekend.
Yes.
So that was because of the weekend, and we try and do that with the holidays, and we try and we're not
staying current.
Yeah. As we're on New Year's weekend, and we're doing our year in review. So.
Oh, is that what this is?
Hey,
I was wondering what we were talking about.
Yeah, I just thought we were just going through some stuff.
I know, right?
Yeah. No, that was
old luggage.
We did some special shout outs for that one. That's it's a pretty personal one, being prior military for me. So that was a very personal one.
I'm just an onlooker.
Well, I'm gonna say the military is not for everybody.
I'm fighting my battles every day.
Yeah, it's a great stepping stone for a lot of people, but I would say it's not for everybody.
It's not for everybody. Yeah, no. Yeah. I think that if I were to go into the military, that I would thrive because we're who we are, and we're good people.
I don't know, Britt. You taking orders for you, I don't know that you, not that, I'm not saying that, yeah, I'm just saying taking orders and being part of a group that says we don't want you to think, we just want you to do, I don't know that you would thrive in that. You would, I think, like the personality wise with other people, I think you would be completely fine with that, but like the whole
do this or you die
kind of thing, yeah, that's... Yeah,
maybe you don't know me as good. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just giving you a hard time. Drink up.
Yeah. Let me drink up. I mean, we're an hour in. We're fine.
It's all right. I just want to pour this next one, and I have a 2-page list of our stuff here, and I'm kind of going over what you're talking about, and so now we're on to the second page,
and we're on part 2 of fake news.
Hey-o. I just combine that into the same thing. Whenever we do a 2-part series, I didn't have enough paper, so I was just like 1, 2. So and then
yes, and then so after that one, after the fake news, we got into our most downloaded program ever
to date.
Is net neutrality. Back in, we did that one actually right after my birthday in June.
Well, and I believe the reason why it was the most downloaded was
people searched net neutrality.
Yeah, right now, that is what's happening.
Yeah,
literally.
Yeah, but we did another episode on that one. The explain it like I'm 5, the Eli 5 version of net neutrality. But that one's newer, and this one's been out for like 6 months, and so it is to date our highest downloaded program.
I'm thinking since we're getting into the more darker ones, I'm going to get some new glasses here. So you chit-chat.
All right. So net neutrality, that one is a very passionate subject from our highest episode guest host, Mike. He is very passionate about that one. And actually, when we did our part 2 episode, he really wanted to come on, but he was a little hesitant because he said... He's so passionate about it because for him it's more of a like a rights issue. It's a free speech issue for him.
Sure.
So he was like, if you bring me on this program, you're gonna have to be careful because I might go off, because he was so passionate about it. And then we also had our newbie on there, another newbie on there, Grant, who didn't know anything about net neutrality, which I actually found really helpful during the talk, because he was like, guys, you're talking up here.
He's like, slow down.
Yeah. What does this even mean? Which for us was very helpful, because we do research. We try and do as much research as possible for every episode. And we may be talking to the level that we've done the research, but for the average person listening to this, it was nice to have those questions of, guys, I don't really understand this. Yeah. And that was nice. That was really nice.
For Grant being a 3-time person, I wish he would have been on more than 3.
He is more than willing, and he lives right down the street from you. So
I know, and that's the best part. Yeah. But yeah, I love his dramatic pauses. Like
that was nice.
Yeah,
was nice.
Like he really thinks through things. Well, I don't engage the brain before you speak. Mm-hmm. Kind of, he's all like, "I'm going to speak, but give me a second." here's what I got to say.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I like that because it really grabs the attention of the audience when there's just like 1-2 second of pause, because it's like, where's he going to go with this?
Mm-hmm.
On to the next.
We're going to take a little pause here, and this next break is brought to you by the Small Batch Bourbon. This is the Elijah Craig. This is another one that, so of all of the ones that we've had,
I like that second part.
People know Elijah Craig and people know Evan Williams. The Evan Williams we just had last. But if you've done any research or been in any spirits section, you know these two. Evan Williams was the last one. Elijah Craig is this one. This is a Best Bourbon 2016, so a very recent award winning. This is a small batch bourbon that we have. It is a 94 proof. So of the ones that we've had, this is the highest proof.
Until we get to the next one.
Until we get to the next one, yeah. Aged 8 to 12 years. That's a little bit of a difference there. That's a 4-year difference. I mean, that's...
Well, so I'm sure they had a bunch of barrels sitting around.
Yeah.
And some of them got the 8, some of them got the 9, some of them got the 10, some of them got the 12.
Right, and each one of these...
This one is somewhere between those.
If you get the 5th, on the bottom of each one, it's going to have the batch on there. So that's what that is. This is just the test tube.
Well, and I'm wondering if it has something on it.
Probably not. I'm going to go ahead and read.
Yeah.
So this is known as the father of bourbon. Elijah Craig is credited with the first distiller to age his whiskey in charred oak barrel.
So before you read this whole thing, have you ever heard of a whiskey brewery just taking barrel 8, the 8-year barrel was the exact same tasting as the 10-year barrel.
Mm-hmm.
So they just mixed them. They were just like, whatever, just mix these all up because they're all going to go in the machine, and also it's all going to, get poured into these things. So
with that, yes.
Okay.
And
speak on that then.
Yeah. So I am a Scotch guy.
Yeah. You know more about this than I do.
Yeah. When it comes to age statements, you have to have the majority of, nothing lower than that. So let's say you mix a 10-year and a 12-year and an 18-year and a 24-year Scotch together. Well, as a statement, you can only have the lowest age statement in there. So it'd be a 10-year. But most people will just say, let's just do a non-age statement because we're going for the flavor profile. So if you're talking
a red table wine, so you don't really, it's a mixture of all different flavors of stuff.
Yeah,
but you can't put a year on it.
For me, like table wine is like the we just had a bunch of stuff, we just threw it in a barrel. Like the non-age
28 Zinfandel, 36 Cabernet.
The non-age statement stuff for me is they're trying to find a flavor profile, whereas the table wine is like, well, we just had some leftover stuff and we're throwing it in.
Gotcha.
So with the whiskeys, they can take different flavor profiles, a 4-year and a 6-year and an 8-year and a 10-year, but they're probably, the whiskeys are not really, you don't need to put an age statement on there really. I mean, it's nice to know that it was aged a certain amount of time, and in fact, to be a whiskey, you need to be aged a certain amount of time anyway. But that doesn't appeal to the average whiskey drinker. Whereas a Scotch drinker, the age statement does matter.
Oh, absolutely.
Even though they're getting away from that. And to me, I started with Glenfiddich. I love Glenfiddich and the
3 fingers of Glenfiddich.
But
if people don't know, that's a reference to Anchorman, and I think this is our 3rd, maybe 4th reference to Anchorman.
Yes, and we
Okay. Anyway,
I love Scotch.
Hey, Pops.
Scotch. But also Glenlivet.
Pops is in our den.
Oh, hey. So Glenlivet, they're doing away with the 12-year, and a lot of the older Scotch, they're actually running out of those. But Glenlivet is getting rid of their 12-year Scotch, and they're doing a Founder's Reserve, which is a non-age statement. And for me, I actually have had I love the 12-year Glenlivet, but the Founder's Reserve to me is a lot smoother, but they don't have an age statement on that, which turns some of the die-hard Scotch people away. Like, oh, I need an age statement on there. I mean, are you stuck on the age statement, or like, what about the flavor profile?
Right.
So that to me, the age statement, while it can get you to, well, if it's a 10-year, it's a newer Scotch, and it's going to be a little harsher. Whereas if I buy an 18-year Scotch, it's going to be more expensive, but it's going to be a lot smoother Scotch.
Get careful.
I know. So from that standpoint, you can kind of judge what the Scotch is going to taste like. Whereas the non-age statements, you can't do that. But I mean, if you're just in it for the flavor profile, what does the age matter? I mean, do I like a 12 and do you like a 15? Or I mean, for me, like actually, I've had everything from 10 to 30 year. The Glenfarclas 30.
Mm-hmm.
Pops, thank you for that one.
Yeah.
But to me, like the sweet spot is like the 15, 16 year. So if you can get a 15-year, 16-year Scotch, that to me is like the Goldilocks. Whereas with whiskey, doesn't matter as much.
Hold on, you said it's the Goldilocks.
Yeah, I did.
What does that mean?
You know what the Goldilocks means. It's not too harsh, not too soft.
Like got a red hood and brings food.
Yeah. No, like
it's the sweetest thing.
So for me,
it's the Goldilocks. I've never heard that statement before, so I'm intrigued.
Okay, so I have a Glenlivet 12, I have a Glenlivet 18, and
you're welcome, by the way.
Oh, thank you. And I would say that like the longer 18-year Scotches are going to be so cost benefit. How about that?
Okay, sure. It's the Goldilocks. Now that makes more sense to me.
All right. So for me, the 15-year, 16-year Scotches, cost benefit wise, are the better Scotches.
Yeah.
I mean, can you get a smoother Scotch at 18 years? Absolutely. But for me, it's not worth it.
If you're the wolf in the woods trying to know,
you're going back to Goldilocks, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's not wolf.
That's Little Red Riding Hood.
Yes.
That's right. You're right.
Yes.
Goldilocks.
Papa Bear, Mama
anyway,
Bear.
let's get back to this Elijah.
Yes.
Craig, which I like the second word of that.
Yeah. Oh, hey. Yeah.
Hey.
Absolutely.
Hey,
yeah. I haven't even taken a sip of this one.
I haven't. That's because you were reading you were reading
I did.
You didn't read the whole thing. I kind of interrupted you.
You did cut me off on that one.
I did.
Bourbon barrels. Today we honor him by hand selecting and marrying small batches of 8 to 12-year-old barrels for the perfect balance of flavor. So they're taking barrels just to do a flavor profile. So
and this one got what kind of best in what?
Best bourbon.
Best bourbon
2016.
So cheers to that.
Cheers. Not a double gold, but a best bourbon.
Ooh.
It's a little harsher than the other ones, but it's also a higher alcohol content of the other ones. I noticed the alcohol. Yep,
there it is. Yep.
So
I so these. If you guys are just joining us, we are doing this nice flight American whiskeys
slash bourbons.
American whiskey / bourbon. And
do you know the saying on that, right?
What is the saying?
All bourbons are whiskeys, but not all whiskeys are bourbons.
Yes, you've said that many of times on this program.
Yep.
So the second one we had, which was the Larceny, the Larceny, Grand Larceny. I got the same feeling having the Larceny as I did this one.
Oh, to me, it's a lot harsher.
It's a lot harsher. But I got that same.
Mm-hmm.
I took a drink and like about 10 seconds later I went.
Oh yeah, it hit you like and it's also higher alcohol content. We're 94 proof, so this is as the ones that we've had before. This is the higher alcohol
on our
content.
way up.
I know we're moving on up.
Speaking of moving on up, raising kids in the digital age.
Oh, that was a good one. That was a good one.
Great one because and with that said, being home for the last week, I've had a week off work, which is great. And it's really opened up my eyes to see what my son is doing during the day. Because when I leave for work, okay, he's doing his thing. And frankly, when I leave for work, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, he goes to preschool in the afternoons. So, he's doing that. So that's good. But with him home with me for the entire week, I was surprised on the amount of TV that he didn't watch, and the amount of his little iPad that we. Mm-hmm. Well, it's not an iPad; it's a Samsung Tab 4,
just a
tablet.
Tablet.
That he didn't play.
Mm-hmm.
I was he now granted we had Christmas, so
He
we
had
had a
new
lot of new
toys.
toys to play
Yeah.
with. But he really, I mean, with the TV, I'm starting to watch. If you get on Netflix, Brian, I even brought this up to Dad. Earth Series 2.
Oh,
So the Earth Series 2 is now on
Nice.
Netflix. Yeah, check that out.
those are really cool.
So yeah, we put that on, and it's like the lions are chasing the antelope and whatever, and they got nice music and a good narrator. And
high quality.
well, here's what it is: we're not
Footage.
watching garbage cartoons, but we're also not watching what I want to watch, which is not good for children. So I don't want to watch.
What are you talking about?
Shoot 'em up, stuff like that.
Bang bang
Bang bang. So it's a happy medium, and
I enjoy.
but he
watching
wasn't even.
those.
He wasn't even. Well, every once in a while he glanced up and he's all like snow leopard, and I'm like, you're absolutely right. That is a snow leopard. Nice
well
job,
done.
guy.
Well done.
I'm glad I sent you to the zoo for preschool.
You know more about Thomas the Train.
But anyway, it's good for him. It's education. But the whole time, this whole week that I've been home, he's had 1 hour of tablet time,
Well, and
which is great. So raising kids in the digital age, I thought was a lot worse before this week that I had at home. With Guyver. I thought he was just, oh, TV's mine, or I'm on my tablet and this and that. And I'm like, oh, actually, he's just playing with toys.
I actually had a conversation with my daughter tonight about because both of our daughters have tablets, and
We know. They bring them to dinner sometimes.
I know. Well, here's the thing.
Which is fine. We're at a restaurant. You really want to just shut quiet, do your thing.
They're actually very good at self-regulating on that, and they're like, we've had too much screen time today, and they're very good at that. So we have some in-laws in town, and they're all together and staying at the same place. And so my mother-in-law said to our...
I hope you didn't do this all on my behalf. No, Eddie, I didn't.
No. Now, don't you get too caught up on that one. That's when I leave next month. Yeah, when I leave next month. Crapper's full. I didn't want to go with the actual.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah. Anyway.
PG.
Yep. Anyway, so my mother-in-law said, hey, just FYI, this morning I asked Piper for a little help, my oldest daughter, for a little help, and she was on her tablet and didn't do anything. So I asked Brindley, our youngest one, and she ended up doing some help. And I said, okay, well, that's okay. Okay, let me think on that for a minute here. And so tonight I talked to Piper about it, and I said, hey,
what's the dealio?
Yeah, I said, hey, I heard a rumor that
because you guys are back in elementary school.
Right.
Heard a rumor
that you were asked to do some help, and you were on your tablet and you didn't do any help, and she had to ask Brindley for a little help, and she ended up helping. And she said, Dad, you're absolutely right. She said, I was actually practicing some piano, and I was in the middle of she's got a game.
Mozart. I was in the middle of Mozart. Leave me alone.
It's a game that it's an app, and so she was in the middle of her turn, and she's like, at the end of the turn, I was more than willing to help, but
she was in the middle of it.
She was in the middle of it, and she loses her turn.
Yeah. Grandma didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, she wasn't like watching garbage. She wasn't just playing some random video game. She was like, she's
educating herself
on piano and trying to take a turn. And yes, I totally understand. I get that. So we had a whole conversation of what you need to say to
people.
Yeah,
when this happens.
Hey, I am willing to help. Just give me
10 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah, 10 minutes, and then we're done.
Not even. Hopefully, it's not 10 minutes long. But yeah, whatever that
give me a
X
quick
amount
answer.
of time is. And I'm willing to help you after that, because they see that, and they see you on the iPad or the tablet or whatever, and they're like, oh, they're just they're zoned into that.
You're teaching a lesson is what you're doing.
Yeah.
And tonight at dinner, Guyver had his little minis, and he was playing with them, and then he dropped one on the ground, and it was a pain in the rear to get that up off of the ground, and so I looked at him and I said, okay, if this is going to happen, we need to stop this. Otherwise, we're not going to be playing with minis anymore. So, of course, he's playing with his minis again, and he drops another one. When he drops another one, I say to him, Guyver, all right, buddy, I'm going to take one away. And I did. I took one away and I put it in my back pocket. And I said, Guyver, if we drop another one on the ground, these are going to get taken away. And, of course, dinner comes, we're hanging out, and then he drops another one on the ground. And I take that one away from him that he wanted. And, you know, it's all about teaching your kids a life lesson. Now, granted, I didn't fork over my phone, which, you know, most parents in this day and age, they're like, to get their kid quiet, they just take the phone out of their pocket and whip it out and hand it to the kid and instantly quiets them because they are able to find their show that they want to watch. But I'm not that type of parent. I don't want to...
it's all about balance.
It's all about balance, yeah. I was saying, you know... Guyver didn't get any screen time at dinner tonight. It was all about him playing with his little minis, but he lost his 3 minis. So it was 3 chances. Bam! I took them all away from him. But eventually he got them back, and they were hiding under a rock, which was a napkin, so it was a really light rock. Anyway, let's move on to the next topic.
Independence Day. That was another.
Oh, that was great. You know,
weekend.
4th of July. It's the middle of summer.
It's our niece's birthday.
It's our niece's birthday. That was a great episode. That was. It was.
She was born on the 4th of July, right?
Was she born on the 4th of July?
Sorry,
I know that. I know that, Brian. I babysat that child for the first 3 years of her life.
So did we.
Yeah. Yeah, we all did. We all took part.
We all did.
We all know Kai.
We were talking about
we
were talking about some of the things she used to call Piper Popeye because she was so young, and blueberries she called Boo Boo Bears.
Mike, good to see you. I wish you would have been joined sooner.
We talked about you a lot, actually.
Yeah, Mr. 12 times on the show.
Well, yes, more than any other. You hold a distinction.
Rock star.
Yes.
But going right after Independence Day was martial law.
Oh yeah, so that was another one that we had Eric on because
again, we needed that side
military perspective on that.
Exactly, a little bit of intelligence,
and the how it could be used and the probability of it happening, and
we got into Walmart and all that sort of jazz too.
Yeah, with the theories of
not theories because they've already used one already.
Well, we didn't get into the tunneling of
after the fact, we've been having a lot of stuff happen down in Texas. We've had some hurricanes and we've had some
flooding
and all that stuff. And they used one of the Walmarts as a facility.
Look at the square footage.
They did not contain them. No, it wasn't like a camp or anything. Yeah, well, it was a camp, but a camp without bars.
After Katrina, they were using like a sports field, like I think a football arena. So Walmart to me is
who's the Olstein got a lot of backlash on that one down there in Texas.
Oh, he did.
Like, you got this facility. Why don't you use it up? They were like,
the church.
Well, no, it's been unlocked. And I'm like, no, it hasn't been unlocked.
At the time, yes, but then it was shortly thereafter. But,
shortly resolved.
Yep.
Quickly resolved.
Next one of my favorites.
One of our favorites, Dad. I know Mom's watching too. Dad,
time off.
Kudos to you, bro. That was so much fun. I'm glad that both you and I had the idea. It was like,
that was our first mobile episode.
Yeah, we were like, can we do this on the road? And I'm like, Brian, I've got a computer and I've got Wi-Fi hotspotting on my phone. The place we're going to is in the middle of nowhere.
Which was crazy. Like
I ran the house.
So all of us were on one network. And Britt's on a different network, and so we were literally all using Britt's hotspot on his cell phone.
My cell phone kicks butt.
And we ran the entire podcast on Britt's cell phone network. I'm not going to name which one it was, but we used...
I'll give mad props to Verizon.
All right.
I'll give mad props to them. They are the best network out there.
We were on a very rural network, and I would say they're
Verizon
good.
is the best network out there. They have those commercials. Do you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, he works for
Can you
Sprint.
hear me?
You know he works for Sprint now, right?
That's because Sprint started paying him more money.
I know. I'm just saying. But yeah, that was pretty crazy.
I at one point in time there was 7 devices connected to my phone.
I know. And
I had to have it plugged in at all times, otherwise drained battery.
We ran a video podcast.
Now, with that said, we only got an hour and a half in, and it cut out. And I don't think that was due to connection error. I think that was due to Facebook Live.
The amount of time we had.
Now, Facebook Live has gotten better and is all like, oh, some people need more than an hour and a half, so we're going to allow that hour and a half to happen. But yeah, in the primal stages of Facebook Live, it was like no one's gonna go over an hour and a half. No way.
Mm-hmm. Oh, except these guys.
Except these guys
and these other guys
that go 2 hours and 21 minutes, and then have another episode of preparedness and do another 2 hours and 21 minutes. How awkward is that? Is not awkward. How weird is that we had 2 episodes exactly 2 hours and 21 minutes long?
Yeah,
interesting.
We try and accommodate time frames.
Yes.
So after that one, we did Petrodollar. So that was our lost episode, and we actually revamped it back in July.
Yes, that was our episode that was done after the Super Bowl that I might have been drinking a little too much on.
Yeah, and we actually lost that one because it wasn't saved. So we ended up revamping it.
Why you no save?
Why you no save? So we ended up doing that one. That was all about the oil for dollars.
You know,
I don't want to speak too much on that one right now because I mean we're gonna do it.
My mind's going 100 miles an hour right now. I'm like, well, we could. I don't even want to bring it up.
Then we got into the fun ones.
Hold on a second here. Oh, geez, what is this? There's like a gift card back there.
Is there a note back there from the?
What is this hidden thing here, Brian? Open it up. We have now physically opened all the bottles of this package.
Oh, a word from the master distiller.
Oh.
Which is, this is a multi-page platform behind here.
Why not? Why not on our last drink talk about this? Not our last drink. Actually, there is one more we might be sipping on.
Yeah, so this last one, though.
Oh, we could have had that the whole time instead of you using the back of this thing.
I know, right? That's all right. This is the rye, which is some of my favorites. I will
here, let's just slide this back in here.
I will say the rye, anything rye, beer, whiskey. You make a rye, I'm happy.
I'll tell you what, this was a lot of fun. Heavenly Hill, thank you.
Yeah. And
we're about to do your last one.
The Pikesville straight rye whiskey.
I'm a Pike. Got to say that. I went to UNO, and I am a Pike.
Hey, all right.
So, Pikesville, here I come.
I will do the... this is the highest alcohol content of the ones that we've had tonight.
I said 116, but it's 110.
110, age 6 years. Originally produced in Maryland in the 1890s.
I like Maryland. Maryland is fun.
Heaven Hill has kept alive this historic brand, now produced in Kentucky, which is where whiskey and bourbon should be from.
You and I need to take a trip out to Kentucky.
Yeah, and just like stay there for a while and
do a podcast out there.
Maybe visit some places.
If any people from Kentucky are listening, please sponsor us. We will come out and we will sponsor you on our...
We know some people that live near there.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Yeah, some family friends.
So this is the rye whiskey.
Yes. Clinky. It's a little harsher flavor, but it's also because it's 110 proof. So we need to let it sit for a minute, let those ice cubes melt and mellow it out a little bit.
When you said harsh, Brian, though, I didn't go...
That is true.
This is not as harsh as I thought it was going to be.
I would say for 110... Normally, like for 110 proof, I'm going to add... Well... Normally I drink like neat, or like I always like to say my joke when my go-to bar is I would like it on the rock. Not on the rocks. I just want like one ice cube with it. So I always say on the rock.
Oh, you have one giant ice cube.
One giant ice cube, yeah.
Well, now it's a half and a half. It's one giant one, but it's 2 halves.
if you're drinking anything that is over 100 proof, you're going to want to mellow it out a little bit. That is, you're going to have such a high alcohol content with it. You need to mellow it out. That's just, it's going to be so harsh. And also, if you have anything that's over 100 proof bottle, like if you buy a fifth that's over 100 proof, really take the cost into consideration, because if it's $50, you just bought 2 bottles for $50, because 100 proof whiskey is really, you can equalize that out to 2 bottles of whiskey. Really, I mean, that's if you water it down. Well, almost 2 bottles.
Speaking of water down, can we take a water break?
I did. I've been drinking all along. I am almost halfway through my water.
So am I.
Mellow of the palate there.
Anyway.
Yes. So, yeah, anything over like 95, 100% or 100 proof, you need to add a little water to, or ice to, just to mellow it out, because you're going to have too much alcohol. It's going to mask the flavor to it. You need to mellow it out a little bit.
Just like when you get to those like beers that are like 14%, it's like, you really don't need a 14% beer. You don't. You don't. So, I'd see the max amount of alcohol for beer, 10%. You don't need anything. After 10%, it's like, whoa, you're getting too much. Even 9% is like perfect for beer.
I have a friend of mine who was a chaplain in the Army, and
kudos.
Yeah, so he was stationed in Germany, and he goes back every year for not Oktoberfest, which I make fun of him for. I mean, why would you not go back to Germany for Oktoberfest, really? But anyway, he said up in northern Germany, there is a monastery that brews beer, and once a year they sell this beer, and they fund the monastery for the year with this beer.
That's awesome.
That is 19% alcohol.
Perfect.
That is insane for beer.
For beer, that's a lot.
That is insane.
1-2 floor.
Yeah, 1 floor. At that point, I mean, we talked about the 1-2 floor was like a 14%.
Speaking of alternative medicine,
I kind of like that one, because we did like a whole gamut. We did all different whiskeys.
We did all different whiskeys, but I mean, for alternative medicine, there's the good. I wouldn't say alcohol is a good one, but I mean, it's what we do on the show. But there's also bad ones. There's the cocaine and the weed, and there's the mushrooms.
So alternative medicine, and we also did part 2, which was home remedies. And
yes,
home remedies, like for me,
home remedies was good. Like
a hot toddy.
Yeah,
when you're sick, a hot
great.
Toddy. Yeah, you get some scotch and some green tea and honey and lemon.
I'm glad you said that.
Don't order that at the bar. Honestly, bartenders hate that.
Folks,
make it at home.
Yeah, make it at home. Folks, Brian actually bought me some Irish cream, and I'm not a big, huge fan of Irish cream, but it came with 2 cups, which we've been drinking in all night. They have a huge lip to them, and they actually sell cream. It's a cow farm.
That's what it is, Irish cream.
Yeah, Kerrygold. Yeah, Kerrygold.
Oh, so FYI, this is one of the things, if you're anybody that's out there that is a coffee drinker, I'm a huge coffee drinker. And one of the things that I saw, the Kerrygold, if you do grass-fed cow butter that is unsalted in your coffee, apparently it activates your digestive system in the morning. So if you're,
that makes sense.
If your first cup of coffee is...
If you're a morning pooper.
Coffee makes me poo. That is one of my favorite mug. Coffee makes me poo. But anyway, so Kerrygold makes a grass-fed butter, unsalted butter. And if you add it to your coffee, which is a little weird.
Yeah, I was going to say, adding butter to my coffee sounds really weird.
Okay, try it. I mean, it's a there's a
it's
little.
Like just put oil in my butter in my coffee.
And it kind of tastes like that. But like once you get past that,
it sounds like gasoline, like adding oil to my coffee.
No, not like oil is in oil and vinegar.
Well, I guess oil would sink. The oil does go sink to the bottom, doesn't it?
It does.
It does. It does. It does. It does. It does.
So, but it's supposed to activate your digestive system and get it going.
Pituitary gland. No,
I have a large pituitary gland. Anyway, I would if you're into the alternative medicine, that is one I would
coffee.
Suggest.
There you go, coffee.
Oh, and I'm a big fan of coffee.
There you go. It's an alternative medicine.
We should do drink talk coffee version.
Ooh, drink coffee liqueur, coffee beers. I would be totally down for that.
Or just coffee.
Just drink coffee.
I'd be fine with either one.
All right, guys, I gotta go. Let's go. You've had 5 cups of coffee, Brian. Relax, calm down.
Simmer down now. What are you doing on the stove? Simmer. What's the opposite of up? Down. What's the present? Now.
Yeah.
Put it all together. Simmer down now.
Weight loss programs.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on. Yes.
Moving on. I'll skip past that because that was a good one, but I wish we would have had somebody iTeam Fit or some kind of CrossFit program person on board for that one.
CrossFit's a more of a workout program,
weight loss program,
but CrossFit is more like workout.
You're losing weight, gaining muscle.
Yes, yeah. Yes, that is implied.
So between Asteroid, the Asteroid back at the beginning, and weight loss programs, those two kind of are right across from each other, and I go
meh.
They were kind of like meh, because I mean I'm a little fat. I'm not fat. I'm not. It's not like Britt. You're tipping the scale there. No. I vary between 185 and 200. But at my age, that's fine.
you know, I'm in shape. Because pear is a shape.
Yes. And your watch tells you you're okay.
It's just
anyway, we're two people that should not if we would have had somebody else on board for that show, it would have been a lot better. Somebody who is in the field of weight loss programs.
And then we got into, after weight loss programs, we got into something that was a little more passionate for us.
North Korea
and Charlottesville, Virginia.
Which was, that's one of the episodes that I was very passionate about. Mm-hmm. And the funny thing was, I said stuff on that episode which was completely like in my own brain, and I'm like, this is what's happening, and no way could this have happened, but it, this is the way I think it happened. And then it was the actual truth. You're like, they actually hired actors for this sort of stuff. And no, it came out of the woodwork that there was a firm out there that hires people to be actors.
Well, and that was the Charlottesville, but the North Korea thing is still kind of going on.
So I listened to that episode literally right before you walked in the door.
Nice.
That episode was the one that was on, and you stated in your way of talking, why be scared of this guy that looks through binoculars? All right. I heard somebody say this before. If you can see the enemy coming through a pair of binoculars, it's too late. It's too late.
One with there is a and I wish I could remember the name of the documentary on Netflix, but there is one that you can find, and it is a documentary on Netflix, and it is by a this is a little harsh, but it's not bad. No, it's harsh.
I almost wanted to take a sip. So I poured myself a whole bottle of Dr. Pepper. And judging by this glass,
the 23 flavors.
I've had 2 sips out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't needed chasers tonight.
Good.
Which either A, I'm getting better on drinking my whiskeys, or B, all the whiskeys have been great and I haven't needed a chaser.
Well, we need to get you better on drinking the whiskeys because those are awesome. Anyway, so we're going to talk about North Korea, and so there is a lot of propaganda on both sides.
All right, so North Korea does not tell their citizens. You want to talk about net neutrality, which is coming up?
Hey.
North Korea's got net neutrality locked down.
Yeah. They're controlling what those citizens see. So there's
absolutely.
a lot of propaganda from that side, and a lot of propaganda.
You research. Okay, one of my things when I set up a computer and I get the internet hooked up, I just in the search bar, Google comes up. I just make sure the internet working. I type in dog, and a zillion things come up. Right. My thought process is, if you're in North Korea and you type in dog, there's going to be like 12 because it's only going to show you the dog that's in North Korea and the 12 types of dogs that they have in North Korea, and that's it.
How to eat, how to cook, how to... Sorry.
Oh! That was good. That was a good lead off. I like that. But, yeah, it's really only going to show you what is in North Korea. You know, like... I'm not saying North Korea only has 12 breeds of dogs, but they're only going to show you the breeds of dogs that they have in North Korea, because my people don't need to know the other breeds of dogs.
And so, since we aired that episode, there has been...
I don't know why Kim Jong-il talks like this.
Did you watch the defector that totally took his SUV and he's like, he ran it and like the security shot down his SUV and then he ran through the woods and defected to South Korea? Did you ever watch that video?
Oh, yeah.
And like he was shot multiple times and like they had to wait like 40 minutes before they got to him and got that's a great, like, look that up. That's crazy stuff.
Yeah.
People are like, he went through that. Think about the people of North Korea that it took that to, anyway. I want to move on to the next one.
The next one,
yeah.
Craft beer upgrade,
yes,
and solar eclipse.
Well, that was our first episode with Sean from Into the Pint Glass.
Yeah,
that was another podcast.
Boom.
He's starting a new podcast here in the new year, but
with maybe our help.
Yeah, he's starting this whole community thing with the craft breweries here in Nebraska, and we're trying to help him out with that, and he's helping us out. So, super cool guy. I enjoy Sean, and he came to us with this idea of, I want to create an app that helps you find craft beers.
Yeah, here's what it is. I'm a member of a lot of different things. I'm a member of Hy-Vee Council Bluffs. I'm a member of Hy-Vee Out West. I'm a member of the Nebraska Brew Crew. I'm a member of, I'm a member
Facebook.
of, yeah, thank you, Facebook, for allowing us to have these little separate pages and stuff. But let's just say I want this.
I'm here.
I want this.
What's available here?
Yeah, I want this 1 6-pack. That's what I want.
Where's it available?
Do you have it? Because I will travel maybe to great distances, hopefully only 10 minutes out of my way, to get that 6-pack.
Or I'm in Kearney. What's available here?
Yeah, I mean, what's the good stuff here?
We got
tell me what's good.
The local
tell me
stuff.
what's rated. Tell me what's rated and what's good.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am totally.
I'm a fan for any app that helps me find if I'm drinking beer that night to find it.
Yeah, absolutely. Then we got into our, we talked a little bit about the sangria.
Oh, hold on.
And Antarctica.
Matt, what's up? Sorry, he just said my name with an exclamation point, so I thought I'd say, Matt!
Hey, Matt.
Carly's brother, Matt.
Oh.
What's up, buddy?
Nice.
All the way from Missouri.
Missouri? Excellent.
Missouri. They have the Cave of Wonders down there.
Do I need to go into the...
Who disturbs my slumber? It's weird because we actually, Bubs and I went through the Cave of Wonders, and first of all, it goes in there, and they were like, pre-prohibition time, we used to have parties down here. I'm like, those must have been some kick-butt parties.
Let's talk about that.
I mean, like, that's cool. You had parties in a cave, and you had alcohol, and I'm sure those parties were awesome. And then, like, Bubs and I were like, I wonder if this is where Count Dracula lived. 1, 2, and we had people rolling. And then we turned the corner, and they were like, this is where the Ku Klux Klan used to have their meetings. And we're like, whoa, let's get out of here. We don't need to be in this cave anymore.
We went from obsessive compulsive to crazy creepy. All right.
Exactly.
Antarctica.
Yes. One of our most downloaded episodes now.
Was one of the most. And there is... if you have not done your research on Antarctica, I
Still an amazingly awesome, weird, I can't describe it, place.
First, listen to our podcast.
Yes.
And then do your own research.
Via YouTube. And then fly down there and maybe try to get to the center of it, which you can't.
It is now on my bucket list to go down to Antarctica. Like, honestly.
If I've got the money... Well, actually, you don't need a whole lot of money to go to Antarctica. As long as you can get down there.
It's like $10,000, man, to get there.
Okay, but then you don't need to really spend anything while you're there.
I know, but that's like just to get you on shore. Like you got the flight down to Brazil.
You keep me on shore, Brian. I will take you to the center. I will
with a 3D camera, and we will hook it up to Google.
The center with a little hot pack on our back.
After that was the preparedness, which is in one of my
1 and 2.
Yeah, 1 and 2. I love.
I'm glad you brought that up. You were like, we're getting into the season of.
That was September. I mean, we tried to do the September was preparedness month, so we tried to hook that up with doing the preparedness talk.
Oh, I have my pinky up.
You did.
It's like it's a good one or something.
Fancy.
It's fancy. Preparedness. It was all about, what you should have down in your basement, what you should be storing up, water, key necessity. Have some water in stock. Key necessity. Have some rice. Key necessity. Have bandages, batteries, and flashlights. We
did a 2-part. One was like the basic necessities. The other part was like the
simple bare necessities.
SHTF. Yeah.
Yes. Don't say it out loud, but you've got the acronym.
Yes.
Which you use the acronym with one of the prior ones that we talked about. What was that? Oh, we haven't even gotten there yet.
Sorry.
No, actually, we have gotten there because it was the net neutrality.
Yeah.
And then you had
Eli 5.
Eli 5. That's what it was.
Explain it like a 5.
Yeah, we've talked about that.
We have. So the SHTF, you know what that means. So that was a little more of a...
And if you don't, look it up.
Yeah. If... or the Teotihuacan.
Yes.
The end of the world as we know it.
That's right.
All right.
Plastic problems.
Oh, that was a tough one.
It wasn't tough. It was just horrible to hear about.
Right. So,
I don't want to know about my oceans being cluttered with crap. I want to go whale, dolphin, fish,
beautiful, majestic creatures.
That's what I want to know about my oceans. I want to go, there's an island of trash? Great. Woo.
Yeah. Well, to me, I would equate it like it was similar to the factory farming episode where I knew it happened. So the plastics problem,
we all know that was a problem. And, when you have plastics out there, a landfill is just masking the problem. They're really just covering up dirt on top of plastic. But plastic doesn't erode like cardboard does or like anything else does.
Since we've had that program, there has actually been a organism that has broken down styrofoam, which is a plastics product. So they're getting on it. Hope.
It's new. It's in
new.
the trial phases. What is there? You're talking about the thing that eats the plastic, essentially makes it erode,
which we didn't have
makes
before.
It go away.
So plastic doesn't. Plastic doesn't break down; it breaks up.
Right, into micro beads,
smaller.
Exactly, and this thing eats that stuff.
Right.
So, I know that when I go to plant my tomatoes in the spring, I want to take the poop from worms and put the poop of worms on my tomatoes soil in order to make it better. It's fertilizer. It's a natural food. Worms are in the soil, eat the soil. The soil's broken up. Stuff that's in the soil, it's a cycle. I do not want to take the poop of these things that are eating plastic and put those on my tomatoes. Do you get where I'm going there?
There's no nitrates in those, which is nitrogen is what you want in the fertilizer.
Right. You get where I'm going.
I do.
So what is the off poop of this thing?
We live in a agricultural state.
It has not been studied enough, so I can't comment.
Right.
No comment.
So then we get into Times Beach. That was
that was a little close to home.
It was.
That was Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Johns, that was listening earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Times Beach should have been more talked about when we were kids because of how close it was. I just think it was a wake up in the way we had that conversation was a wake up in what our lives are about. There's things that happen in our lives that people don't see, and that was close to home. So it was like
times that was it happened a while back.
It happened a while back, but it was a thing that was not good.
Yeah, right. I will agree with that.
So you can consider it a war zone in my field.
Yeah, no, I don't know about that, but look back.
People died.
They did. They did.
So it's a war zone.
Yeah. Then we got into prisons for profit. Man.
Oh, yeah. Because that's what they are.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the more they can lock up, the more they can put these prisons at capacity, the more money the person in charge gets.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a win-win.
Mandated minimum requirements for these prisons.
Well, and that starts to get into the laws and the...
lobbyists from
and
the prisons. And anyway, we're going to go into uplifting news.
Hey! Then we finally did something that was happy and rejoious.
Happy, joy. Oh, yeah.
I'm glad we did that. Because it was literally, I think it was 2-3 weeks of just crappy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right then, and what was happening then was also the Vegas stuff that was happening.
Oh yeah, the mass shooting.
Yeah,
Vegas,
I mean, it was crap upon crap upon crap of just news. It was like, can we have something that's good? And we had uplifting news. Which, speaking of that,
brought to you by Drink Talk.
Uplifting news is right in the middle of one of our most downloaded podcasts.
Hey,
yeah. So hey, people,
high fives.
Even though it was just called uplifting news, people were like,
I want uplifting news.
I want to watch. I want to listen to that.
Right.
So it was one of I think it was our 5th most downloaded episode.
And then we went into suicide.
Well, it was Suicide Prevention Week.
Yeah, it was.
And Al-Ziri.
Oh, yes.
I'm glad he came on, and literally he made the same exact cocktail 5 times.
3.
Was it 3?
It was 3.
It seemed like 5.
It was 3. It was 3 different
You
times.
could be right. I'm wrong.
But yes.
But they tasted totally different.
Well, and that also got me plugged into my friend Eric. He plugged me into the community for military suicide awareness and.
That was another show Mike was on too.
Joint Task Force
because of Boys Town.
Yeah, so like that. I still am plugged into that community. It's really. They're helping a lot of people, and I hope you do some.
I'm actually part of that too. I get their Facebook updates.
Joint Task Force 21.
Yes.
Yeah. Great people.
I don't know how I got on that, but all of a sudden I'm starting to receive messages from them.
And that leads into our social media episode.
Oh, how did I get that? I might have clicked something that's told somebody somewhere that. You can go ahead and just do that.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had those messages on Facebook where you're like, oh, I'm really interested in this subject. So you go ahead and you click on this subject that you're actually interested in. And then all of a sudden, like a subframe pops up and it's all like, oh, hey, would you like Facebook to add this to your account? And I'm kind of questioning myself. I'm like, what am I getting myself into by clicking OK to view just this little article that I thought I was going to be just reading this little article, but apparently you want to access my YouTube or not my YouTube, but my Facebook and show me this article about what I want to read. So when I receive that message, all I'm thinking about is. Now I'm going to be receiving this message for the rest of my life because it thinks that that's what I'm interested in. Social media. It can take things so out of context. It's absolutely amazing. Social media is kind of crazy because it can access so many different things. Your microphone on your phone. You're listening to me, phone down there. Don't you hear me, phone? I'm talking about coffee makers. Now my phone just heard me say coffee makers like 4 times, right? Didn't it? Social media, I'm going to have literally, I'm going to get on my phone, and the first thing on Facebook is going to be a coffee maker ad.
I heard you like Keurig.
It's sitting on my pool table back there. I don't want to get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what I'm saying. It's social media is crazy. Especially on those pages when you click on it and it's like, I want to read this article, and it's all like, well, you have to join this little thing. And I'm like, I don't know.
Oh, you did a search for this one thing. You may want to see 12
forever.
Yeah, these articles about it. So
forever.
Mm-hmm. Then we got into the hard topic of opioid crisis. That was a tough one. Because it's such a prevalent thing.
Speaking of that, Andrew wanted to get on that topic because living up in Michigan, he has actually lost about 4 or 5 or 6. I don't know. I'm not quoting him right. He's lost a lot of friends from the opioids.
I mean,
it's ridiculous that a place could sell that many to a town that small, and that was just a small percentage. That was a small little area of people that they were selling to. I'm not pulling up the statistics or numbers that we were talking about, but you remember that episode, Brian?
I do very well.
This town. These are not for sure numbers, but this town only had like 200,000 people in it, and they had 4 million prescriptions for this one thing. It's like each resident of this thing had 4 in their gullet per month. It's like, what? No, that doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. The whole town is on these opioids. No. Somebody's selling something.
I know they kind of were. I mean, that's how far-reaching the opioid
kind of were.
crisis.
They were. No, they were. They documented. DEA came in, they trashed the joint, and they were like, "No, you guys are really just selling to these people."
Right. And then we did the On the Rocks edition for the few of our favorite things. We ended up doing something a little light after that because we did suicide, and then we did.
Yeah, it was kind of like, you guys are going down a rabbit hole. You probably shouldn't. Slow down.
We need something light here. That was a fun one. And then we did self-driving cars. That was a fun one.
You said fun twice in a row.
Bing.
That was the magical chime of me grabbing this bottle over here, which will be our last drink.
This is our.
This is culmination of the end of the episodes.
Yes.
Because the next one is actually kind of fun, and I want to talk about that here in a second.
So our first episode was GMOs. We did from Patriarch Distilleries. We did their bourbon, which was a double gold winner.
It's one of our first episodes.
The first episode.
Oh, let me get that right. Yeah. Let me make that straight.
The first episode.
And tell me about this, Brian. This is something new that came out that only a fraction of people here in Nebraska got.
So on Thursday, they released this product called the Blackberry Whiskey, and on Thursday they sold 18 cases of this whiskey. And Patriarch Distilleries is a really good distillery here in La Vista near Lucky Bucket. And
that's the old one. That's the new one.
The thing I like about them is they are veteran owned, and their bottles are like World War I canteens. That's how you distinguish them from everything else.
So yeah, let me right in the middle.
Yep, that is the bourbon. That's the first. And then
if you want to hold that up, I'm going to go grab some ice cubes.
I mean,
talk about it for a second.
We should do both, really. Yeah. So here's version 1. Here is version 2. Oh, because it's full. It's a little heavier there.
I'm bringing out new glasses for this one.
Yeah. So on Thursday they released this Blackberry whiskey, which is a brand new whiskey for them, and it is very, very delicious. I went there on Friday and they were getting low on their count. Thank you. We ended up having the black cherry. Was it?
I don't know what was it because I wasn't there because you didn't invite me.
No, that was here. What was the black cherry that we had here? Was it the?
Oh yeah, the black cherry. Don't even talk about it. Jim Beam black cherry.
Jim Beam. So super sweet, super
like.
Yeah,
I just had like
a schnapps.
Like a, like the little lollipops you stick in your mouth, and then there's the little Tootsie Roll in the middle of it. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like one of those. You're like, it's good. I'm glad I got to the Tootsie Roll, and there's a little bit of sour flavor to it. It's like too much.
Yeah,
a little too much.
This, not so much. This is it's sweet, but it's a very subtle black cherry flavor. So on that note,
yeah,
look how red that is. I mean, that's
so red. So cherry.
You can smell. You can just smell it.
Oh, I can smell the cherries for sure.
Yep.
Ooh. Unlike anything we've had.
Like uber smooth.
Unlike anything we've had. I'm sorry. I had to remove this and show off the picture of you and me.
Yeah, with my monogrammed sweater.
Hey, I'm wearing a Christmas sweater, so I believe this was taken around Christmas time.
Mm-hmm. If you can get that. You need to wear that for a ugly sweater contest.
All children that are brothers, they should take a photo like this when they're young. If you can make that happen. Brian, the cardigan sweater, it's very nice.
I like the line there. That's the haircut.
Oh, that's the bowl cut. They put a bowl in your head.
That was pre-Ron.
That was pre-Ron.
Mm-hmm. Anyway,
he's wondering why you haven't been back yet. I understand you found scissors and scotch.
Technology.
Yeah, well, you know what, Brian? You live on the other end of Omaha.
I know. It's just more of a scheduling conflict.
Convenience.
Yep. So, speaking of, we're going to get into self-driving cars.
Great.
Convenience.
Great. I told you to put a note in your thing and talk to you about this later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Your invention?
Yes. Has to do with self-driving cars.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Bring it up.
Nope.
All right. So,
because somebody could take it.
All right. So
I haven't written a letter to myself and mailed it to me yet.
So I kept getting this. Hey,
Brian. I got your 6.
Excellent. Get my 6. The self-driving cars episode. I ended up getting a lot of the Ford Expedition came out with the 2018 model, and I kept getting a lot of ads for it, so I was like, oh, I'll check it out.
Don't buy a Ford.
What was $80,000?
Don't buy a Ford
for an Expedition with a V6.
Go ahead and buy 2 years sooner.
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking 2017? 2018. So buy a 2015 or 14 or 12 or
math is hard. I'm going to go with 16.
By 2016 Chevy Tahoe.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, no brainer.
Well,
and it would have been $10,000 cheaper, guaranteed.
But here's the thing: I've been a fan of Tesla, and Tesla has the Model X. I was like, oh, what is the Model X?
So are you telling me Tesla invaded Ford?
No.
Okay, well then, I don't know what this conversation is about.
Okay, price.
Okay, all right.
So I started looking into it, and the I think the Model X started at like 85. But the interesting thing with the Model X from Tesla, which is their SUV, and you can get it as a 6-passenger SUV.
Well, I mean, you have a growing family. It is a family of 4, so you might need
for luggage and storage and
or
whatever.
Are you trying to expand or
and did that? No, I don't know.
All right, it stuck to the tape. It definitely stuck to the tape.
Anyway, so one of the things I like about Tesla, they have this HEPA filtration system for the cabin, and they have a biodefense mechanism.
So if a bomb explodes next to your car, it's got its own health system, breathing system.
It can shut down the cabin, with the exception of a nuclear attack, because that would set off an EMP, and EMPs and electric cars don't mix well.
Brian, if you bring your children that close,
I know.
Don't.
Did you hear, though, that Elon Musk, the first rover vehicle on Mars, is going to be their brand new sedan, the sports sedan? Well, not sedan, sorry, sports car.
I want moon tires on my thing.
That's the thing. So they have a brand new.
I wanted to do this when I drive on one.
They have a brand new sports car, and that's going to be the first rover on Mars. Is Tesla's brand new sports car?
Oh my gosh! I'm imaging footage from the moon when they were taking the moon rover out there, and they like slow motion. I don't know if it's slow motion or if it's just the way the moon is. They're just like they hit the first rock and it flies up in the air in slow motion, and they come down real hard, and they're like.
Britt, you haven't been to the moon? I mean,
I don't think we've been to the moon.
It's all slow motion there. Oh, jeez.
I mean, we could talk about theories.
Okay, here's the thing with me and the moon. I think we've been there, but I don't think the footage actually survived the return trip because of the Van Allen radiation belt.
We've already known that it has not because they taped over it accidentally. NASA came out and it said that in a video, and I'll have to show that to you later as well.
All right. After self-driving cars, we did.
It's like, we can't buy tapes? Like, come on. Self-driving cars, Brian, I'll bring this out. Sexual harassment.
So one thing I wanted to bring out about the self-driving cars that we didn't bring out in the episode.
We should look this up.
That I actually, sorry, I'm going to skip over sexual harassment because that was a tough one, and I'm going to go back to.
But it's not a tough one because it's happening still.
Yes.
To this day.
Yes, it is. Self-driving cars. Here's something that we didn't bring up in the episode.
What didn't we bring in?
So,
bring in.
The
Let me begin.
So the majority of organ donors come from car accidents. So self-driving cars
would bring that down.
Right.
So they're not really for it because they don't have the organs to supply. Okay. I see where you're going there.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, just read an article on that.
Fair. Oh, I like.
That's something we didn't bring up.
That's nice. That black cherry is nice.
Blackberry. Black cherry was the Jim Beam. This is Blackberry.
As you are.
Fair.
Riker.
As you were. After sexual harassment.
No. Let's talk about that for a second, because there are things that are coming out that right amongst what we talked about Disney and about Disney and about Disney.
And who?
Disney. There's been more sexual harassment charges that are coming out
for everybody.
Oh my gosh! Like, here's to my wife's avail what she says.
Nobody's immune.
Is everyone doing this?
Yeah.
Is everyone perverted?
And I think I brought that up with when we talked about Disney. I was like, I don't look, or for the sexual harassment, I was like, I don't look to Hollywood as a moral compass. So,
No.
So the fact that this happens isn't really a surprise to me, because we all know about the casting couch. Not that I want to minimize what's going on in Hollywood, but like, that's like, we all know that that's what happens.
You want to make it big? Right on my big.
Yeah,
you know,
it's not what you know, it's who you blow.
Oh, there you go. Fair enough.
Right.
Let's move it on.
Net neutrality. Explain it like I'm 5. That was our second episode of net neutrality.
Things that science can't explain.
That was after net neutrality, but yes.
Well, I skipped the net neutrality one
because we already did
part 1, part 2.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That was a fun one.
It was. Eli 5 was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Eli 5 again.
We got the band back
together. At the end of this, I will read our most listened to stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Things science can't explain. I enjoyed that one only for the simple fact that we just were like, had nothing in our brains and we can't explain it. Science can't explain it.
You may have
Do you know? I don't know.
Anything in your brain?
Maybe.
But, I had lots of stuff in my brain.
Here's the thing. I had no questions to the answers I was saying.
You had no answers to the questions you were asking.
Did I say that wrong?
You did. Scratch that.
That's science.
Reverse it.
That's science and liquor.
It is. That was a fun episode because it was, and there were more things out there that I wish we would have put in there if we would have had more time.
Absolutely. I would have put it.
And I wish we would have had the guest host that was supposed to be on there.
Richard, we were talking about you earlier, buddy.
Ted.
We want you on the episode again, Rich.
Yeah.
I know you're listening. I can see you're watching. Anyway, sorry. Back to our stuff.
I was talking about Ted, my cousin, who's a science teacher.
Oh, no. Yeah, he was supposed to be on the episode, but he never made it.
Yeah, he was sick that episode. Okay, that's fine.
Science teacher dissecting frogs. How stinky was that?
There's more to...
There's more to science than dissecting frogs. I know
right?
that. There's formulas that you mix, and the oxygen, and the hydrogen, and the helium, and the whatever you want to do.
I have a petition that's going out against dihydrogen monoxide, and I really hope that people sign this petition.
What is that petition?
For dihydrogen monoxide.
Okay,
dude, it's like, have you looked into it? It's horrible.
It's deplorable,
dude.
I'm giving you a hard time, Brian. I know exactly what you're talking about. I just wanted to get a reaction from you. That's what I'm looking for.
You're not gonna. Yeah. Anyway, the last one is Disney. That's our little. Yep.
And again, Rich just joined us, and he was supposed to be on that one. You were supposed to be here, buddy. Disneyland. It's, you know what? When it was created, it was a wonderful thing.
It's a magical place.
It's a magical place. It was where everybody, all the kids wanted to go, and
adults.
But here's the thing: it's gotten to a point where I think it was like the late '90s. I think it was like 99. It was getting right up into the 2000s where it was like not being a magical place anymore, unless you had a first class ticket. But in 2007, 6, they created the princess ticket, and you could just go wherever you want to go. You just hang out, and you're like first in line everywhere. If you have that ticket, you're golden. But if you don't have that ticket, you're going to wait in a 45, 50-minute, hour-long line. And it's like, that's not how you're supposed to experience Disneyland. You're not supposed to experience Disneyland in an hour-long line. And it's like, cool, we waited an hour, and we rode a 5-minute ride. And then we go on to our next one, and then we wait another hour-long to get on another 5-minute ride.
It's called Fast Pass.
Oh, yes.
On top
and
of the...
you know all about that,
I
Brian.
do. On top of the $65 entrance fee to Disneyland, you get the Fast Pass. And you can only access it during a certain amount of times, and you can get the Fast Pass for a certain amount of rides at a certain amount of times. And
what a joke.
Yep.
What a joke. What they need to do is have Disneyland in every state.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. What?
I mean, that's...
Did I say that? Did I say... Hold on. It's kind of like a World of Fun, Kind of like a little small...
I don't know.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem. I went out to California. I did Disneyland when I was 15 years old. I remember Eric and Laura. Laura was up on my shoulders. We were, walking through Disneyland and hanging out. And we waited for three things. Mm-hmm. 3 things. All day. All day. We did 3 things all day. That was it. Really? No. You go to Funplex. I can ride the rides. I can do the water park. I can go ride the roller coaster. I can do some sand beach volleyball. I can, I can do 12 things. I can do 20 things at one place. But at Disneyland, I can do 3.
Well, we had a much better experience because we are Disney Vacation Club members, and we had a much better experience.
Like I said, you have the Fast Pass, you have the Princess Pass.
The Fast Pass, though, is still, you have to apply for that and get that. Sometimes it's like at the park during certain
So like a passport kind of thing?
Kind of. Anyway.
Did they chip you?
Well,
kind of.
So here's the thing. When we went to Disney World this last time, everybody gets like a Fitbit thing.
So they did chip you.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they did.
Yeah, but like that's all your.
But they know. But hey, you lose your kids. They're like, they're in dorm room 3, doing arts and crafts. Oh, okay, cool.
And you don't have to have a credit card. Like everything's tied to your Fitbit, and you just boop, right across.
Oh, well, that was easy to pay for.
Yep.
Boop.
Yep. All your passes. Boop. Oh, you got.
There goes more money. Boop.
Yeah. It's dangerous.
I like how you said that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's dangerous.
Yeah.
But yeah, way easy. Okay.
I need a new toy. Boop.
Yeah.
Bar of soap. Boop.
We've gone through.
Wait, don't they give you soap for free? Oh no. Boop.
All right, we're done. Oh, damn it! I hit the mic.
You did.
We are done with talking on the talks. I want to go through
what our new year has to
favorite episodes.
Ooh. I gotta go pee for this one.
Okay. So I want to talk about my top 5 episodes while Britt is.
Let's do it. Top 5.
Yeah. Well, I want Britt to be here for that one. So I'm gonna pause for a minute and just talk about the fact that we've been going for a year on this, and you're joining us for the year in review. And if you're just joining us or finding out about us, we've only been going for a year, and we're trying to get this second season going. And Britt and I are going to talk about what season 2 entails and what we're thinking of for season 2. So I would say the way I feel about what we've accomplished so far. We've come from, if you've joined us from the beginnings, if you've started from the beginning and listened to all of our earlier episodes,
from the bottom now, yeah.
We have started from the bottom, and there has been a lot that has been accomplished. And even though this first year for us has just been kind of a testing ground, we're really gonna
ramp it up on the second year.
Season 2 is going to be more
started from the bottom now. Yeah.
Well, it's going to be more mobile episodes. It's going to be.
It's going to. I'd love to reach out to the community. There's been so many breweries that we've actually talked to that want to have us on board. That want to say, "Hey, come on over here," and we're like, "Could you come to us? Because it's just a lot easier to do in our basement." And I guarantee you, we've had so many guests here on the show, 9+ guests over the past 12 months. Mm-hmm. So, I'm going 1 a month here. We've had 9+ guests on this 1 year episode. And they get nervous. They're like, oh, I don't know, But then they get in the basement, and then they're just hanging out, and we're like, we have a cocktail, real quick, and then we get on the mics, and they're like, "Oh my god!" At the end of it, they're like,
easy.
"Wow, that was
it.
that was it. That was an hour and a half. Like we could have gone more."
Sure was.
Well, speaking of an hour and a half, we're going on 2 hours right now.
Mm-hmm.
Almost 21 minutes.
Favorite? Now that you have had time to think in the bathroom there,
I wasn't thinking at all. I was just letting it go.
Glad it went for you. Do you have a top 5 for your? Episodes?
Yeah. I do have a top 5 for my episodes. Beer Me, number 1.
Mm-hmm. That was actually listed as my number 1 because it was an episode that we didn't have a topic.
It was so new and fresh. It was episode 7, 8, 9, something like that. It was really
no
new
topic and just threw it in.
It was our first time that we really were like, what do we talk about, Brian? And you were like, I don't know. And you came over and I'm like,
we have a home brewer here.
We have a home brewer. Your home brewer. It's just Beer Me.
Talk about it.
Beer Me.
Yep.
And the the offset of that, we had the Beer Me episode, but we created a new line of episodes, which was called
A Few of My Favorite Things.
Yeah. And then we had 2 more of those. So we had 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So technically 3. So
Which
Beer
was
Me,
nice.
few of my favorite things, and then yeah. So we had 3 episodes of just come drink, no topic, just hang out, and those episodes and topics lasted like an hour and a half. It was just like, well, with this episode right here, Brian. We were really going to go for Bitcoin. That's what we were going to shoot for, because kind of we were sitting at a table with our relatives, and that's kind of what was brought up. And I'm like, yeah, let's do that, because that's what's new and hot, and that's what might crash soon. With that said, but then literally call me like 3 days later, you were like, let's do a year in review. And I'm like, oh, absolutely.
Boom.
That's exactly
That's
what
it.
we need to do for sure, and talk about what we want to do next. So number 2 would be fake news.
Mine was time off.
Oh, that was actually my number 3. Was
Yeah.
time off. Fake news, because so much is happening and that term is used so loosely right now with fake news, because it's so tough to believe what you see on TV now. Because, I mean, they create things that are just... You ever seen the show Shameless? Like, they create these atmospheres that you're like, well that could have happened. I don't know.
I think we touched on this in the original fake news episodes, but there was a new TED Talks that I watched, and it talked about being able to...
Grant. Yay, guess.
Hey,
Grant, we were talking about you actually earlier.
we were.
Kudos to you, bro. I just wanted to do a shout out to you, Grant, amongst our talks about stuff.
Grant, did you know you have done 3 episodes through Drink Talk?
And Grant, we will have you on for Bitcoin.
Yes.
Perfect.
All right. So we talked about doing the episode.
This is like 3rd, 4th shout out. I love it. I love this little stuff we're doing.
So there was a TED Talks that I had listened to, and I have completely lost my train of thought.
It's all right. Brian, we're doing good things here.
Yeah.
And I enjoy this show. No, when we cheers, we drink.
We do. You're right. And I set it down.
I love what we're doing here. I think it's a neat... You came up with this.
I did.
I came up with the name. You came up with this.
Speaking of drinks, do you have a favorite drink that we had on any of ours?
Oh my gosh! I gotta.
There's so many.
Can I turn this microphone around and
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! The pseudo sue, which I called Pseudo
Sue. I love that.
The pseudo sue is by far the best beer that we've had on the show.
From Toppling Goliath.
Toppling Goliath. They are amazingly awesome.
You know what my favorite is? It's not a beer at all.
Ooh, well, I was just naming a beer, and then I was going to go to a liquor, and then
drinks. So my favorite was the pomegranate lime spritzer cocktail. That was my most memorable one. Do you remember what it was from?
I do.
Transhumanism?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
I mean, that was very early on in the episode.
Right, because it was our first mixed drink.
Yeah.
Like we actually mixed it.
It was a cocktail that happened right in front of us.
Right. And then from that, like I, even though suicide prevention, that was tough.
Well, that was, you're months past what we started with.
I know, but that episode was tough. But
you're Alzuri. Oh, he did on
three.
And I've asked him. I haven't asked him to come back on the show again.
Mm-hmm.
Alzuri, I'm sorry, man. I haven't asked you to come back on the show. I've seen since the show of him. I've seen him 6 times, but I haven't asked him to come back on the show.
I know, but we had one cocktail, but we had 3 different three.
I said 5, but you're right.
It was
3.
It was 3 different ways, and it was like the first one was like the base of
the root, of it.
What you would if you
the
ordered,
rudimentary of the drink.
Yeah, if you ordered that at any bar, that's what you would get. And
because they'd look it up on a list, and this is how they do it.
Yeah,
and then he
did like
Made
two
it better.
versions of it.
Way better.
Yeah, I thought that was really,
Way
really
better.
cool.
In fact, I have his chocolat
Hey,
still over here.
the bitters. Yeah.
The bitter chocolates.
Do you have any throwaways? I didn't see that.
It was an empty bottle anyway.
Do you have any throwaways? Like,
Well, Asteroid. I mean, Asteroid, but that was a throwaway totally.
mine, the petrodollar, even though we like revamped it, that was one of my, it just didn't flow for me.
The problem with petrodollar right now in my life is my wife might have put some bad gas in my stuff. In my car, and so I've been having to fill up in high octane, which costs like 20, 40, 80 cents more than the other one has. So petrodollar, I'm like, every time I put that gas pump into my tank and I go, I'm paying more for you, but hopefully it makes my car drive better. That petrodollar's really got me. That petrodollar's got me like, ugh.
I just, I felt like that was the lost episode, and we tried to do another one, and it just didn't. For me, it didn't.
We didn't
flow.
have the right people. We didn't. Well, it's just you. It was you and me. But
yeah,
again, there's in this book of things that we've done. I think that there's 4, maybe 3 episodes that we should have had somebody who knew more things about that scenario.
Somebody in the financial district that knew what was going on.
Yeah, like somebody that even just a guy that does gas, like a guy that delivers gas. Like if we could have had him, like, oh, I deliver gas every day, and this is the amount of gas I deliver. Like even just the statistics of that gentleman that would come on the show would have brought in more to the show.
Right. It just didn't flow for me.
Out of all the episodes that we have had, you and I have done the most. Oh, wait a minute. All of them.
I mean, yeah. All but one.
But with that said, with Mike only being a member of 12 episodes, that leaves out 42 or 40.
Math is hard.
I said 40. I said 42, and then I was like,
50,
wait. He
so
said 12,
38.
And then no, I said 12.
I know. Yeah, 38.
We've had this is episode 50.
38.
He's been on 12,
38.
so that'd be
38.
Okay. Whatever.
Math is hard.
When you've been drinking, math is hard. I agree. I'll agree on that one. A plus minus 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever. Here's what I'm saying is we haven't had the right people on the right show at the right time of what we, like what I'm trying to do is
I don't know. Some of the guest speakers we had was like that. They were handpicked for that. But
you and I do our research, and we do our research on Wikipedia, we do our research on YouTube, we do our research online, and it's what we are getting off of the people that are saying things. If we could actually have somebody in the industry
that knows what's going on,
it'd be a better episode.
That's
what I'm saying.
I agree with that. That's a fair statement.
Fair. Thank you.
Very fair. Let's get into season 2. Prospects, things to come.
You're gonna have to start sipping on this red.
No, this whiskey was really good. Now I'm gonna get into the sipping Blackberry whiskey,
which I'm gonna pour myself another cup so I can cheers you.
You're here.
I'm home.
Yeah, I know, right? Future topics. I'm gonna go with. We're gonna kind of stay the same with. Solving the world's problems one drink at a time.
I have no problem with the discussion on that.
And future guest, though, for me is going to be, I think we're going to do more breweries. And
I like we've talked about during this episode, is there's a few breweries that would love to come on the show, but don't want to travel outside their boundaries.
Well, and we've got a couple podcasts.
With that said, breweries have to stay within their walls. Some of them do. Some of the Nebraska Brew Crew, not that distillery that we've been drinking out tonight, but Nebraska Brewery may have to stay within their wall. Not them. That's big time. They're big time. Small time. This major. We've got to go to them. We even though they have to go up our street to go home. I'm like you're on your way home. Like, just come on, just stop by.
I'm fine going to them though.
But I'm all for taking it. Like, all four of these mics are now on these arms, which is a lot easier, and I can just disconnect and be like, wrap up and connect to a table. But I'm all for starting to do episodes on random days. Now, if you want to do them live, which we're doing right now, which is cool. I enjoy a live experience, uncut,
with a video.
It's live. It is live. There is no there is no editing going on right now. Brian, you and I have now been going on for 2.5 hours, which is great. And we're talking about past episodes, which is easy to do because we've had 50 of them. So we could talk. We could literally go for a whole nother hour. We could, just to revamp some of the stuff that we skipped upon because we went. We don't want to talk about that, but actually, I do want to talk about that. But I don't want to talk about that. Just for the sake of shortening this episode a little bit.
Sure.
But going to a brewery is fun. And what we're going to experience is things that you wouldn't normally do. You go to Cross Drain, you go to Pint 9, you go to Vis Major, you go to those breweries that you would normally go to because they have great beers, but you try the beers that you wouldn't normally order off the menu. So I'm flipping your.
You're chucking with your hands
and knuckin' futs. You would try stuff from their brewery that you would normally not have, and your reaction is what they're looking for. Your reaction is what's going to make the public go, maybe I should order that. Because Britt or Brian said, that's good.
That's pretty.
I would never have ordered that off the menu, but since you just gave it to me, no, that's good.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, that's bad. I'm sorry. Can you? Is there water around here that I can get? They want our reaction to things. We've established ourselves as a online community for beer and liquor and as a show called Drink Talk, and they're starting to value our opinion.
Hopefully
in the next 5 years, our opinion is the greatest opinion. They're like, I'm not going to try it unless Britt and Brian's had it, and they're like, has Britt had? Oh, they have had it. Oh, they said it was shit. I know.
Man,
it's getting late.
It's so hard.
I know.
All right. I think we're going to wrap up this last episode because...
I just cussed.
You did. At the end of the year, we've done this a year on, and Britt still slept up.
I know. Crap.
Dang it. All right. The future...
The future is
kind of holds some fun stuff.
Hold on. It's kind of like Star Trek. To the beyond, above beyond, or
to the great beyond.
To the great beyond. There we go. That's a better way of saying it.
Yeah, we're gonna get there. We've been kind of reviewing this last year. This has been an episode of Drink Talk. We've been reviewing.
Has it been Drink Talk?
It has been.
Oh, that it has. It has.
It has. Mostly. Yeah.
Mostly in review.
In review.
Oh, wait a minute. That's the name of the episode.
Hey, how about that? It's almost like we decided on this ahead of time.
Go figure.
I know. Thank you for joining us. We've been drinking on, I don't know, a lot of whiskey from Heaven's Hill. And I think...
that was so good. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're still paying attention, get those little vials. That was perfect.
Well, and we
I wouldn't have done it any other way. I wouldn't have had a year-end review any other way besides having those little vials.
Well, and we started this episode, or started Drink Talk with Patriarch Distilleries,
and now we're ending it
with Patriarch Distilleries.
Oh, and you came out with the cherry, the
black cherry,
the black cherry,
blackberry,
cherry, berry.
Whatever.
It's fruit.
It's delicious.
It is delicious.
All right.
Delicioso.
My name is Brian.
I'm Fargus. No, Britt.
Fargus McGillicuddy. Thank you for joining us.
We love you, and thank you for watching.
And a Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year. Absolutely Happy New Year. Have a good night.